is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news, intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversation. 96.9 FM. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Good morning. Bouncing back, the tourism minister says tourism in the country is growing by leaps and bounds. Police shoot and kill a man armed with a cutlass. And the PLP leader says the budget falls flat. It's all straight ahead this morning. I'm Dwight Strachan, and this is Morning Blend.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. It's the start of a new way. You know that it's there. It's the start of the end of the old way. Revolution. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Good morning again, Bahamas. It is Wednesday, June 16th, 2021. Once again, I'm Dwight Strachan with you on Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. In a moment, Chester Robards will be joining us. Also this morning, we'll talk about the National Security Minister saying the police can enforce the proposed vaccination day. And in our discussion, we are talking about a national blood drive for Grand Bahama in the next few days. And later in Morning Blend Business, we are talking about corporate tax or corporation tax. What exactly is it? What does it mean? How much of a difference will it make here? We're going to get into all of that coming up. But first, it's time for the overnight and latest breaking news from while you're sleeping and the top national and international headlines this morning. In the overnight, almost 300,000 tourists have visited the Bahamas so far in 2021. That's according to Minister of Tourism Dionisio de Aguilar, saying that while the numbers are down compared to the same period in 2019, the year with a record 7.2 million visitors, the increase in arrivals is promising for tourism's rebound following the calamity caused by COVID-19. De Aguilar touting in the House yesterday during the budget debate the government's travel visa program, travel health visa. He said officials are processing between 6,000 and 8,000 applications a day. Visitors wishing to enter the country or travel within the Bahamas must apply for a travel health visa online. They need to have a negative COVID-19 test to be fully vaccinated. De Aguilar says in January, 22,000 visitors received a health visa. In February, that went up to 30,000. In March, 64,000. In April, 68,000, and 110,000 in May. De Aguilar, the Freetown MP, said the numbers show that 60% of visitors are coming to New Providence, 40% are going to the Family Islands. Meanwhile, the opposition leader, Philip Davis, the MP for Cat Island, Rumkey, and San Salvador, says the government's 2021-2022 budget, quote, ignores the dire economic reality facing the country. Davis says the budget is, quote, about selfish political ambitions, not shared national ambition. He said the budget is a guilty plea and admission that the administration will never do more than tinker, even though we, quote, desperately need an overhaul. In other news, with 100 temporary domes still awaiting erection on Abaco and Grand Bahama 21 months after Hurricane Dorian, Minister of Disaster Preparedness Management and Reconstruction Pakeisha Parker Edgecombe says the government is considering whether those domes should be erected at all, noting that they were meant to be a temporary solution in the more immediate aftermath of the storm. She says it's been concerned about the delay in having them put up, but funding has been a major issue. Supreme Court Justice Cheryl Grant Thompson adjourning the ongoing Shantytown judicial review so she can make her final ruling in the matter. During yesterday's proceedings, Fred Smith QC, who's representing Shantytown residents as they challenged a 2018 government policy that sought to get rid of shantytowns in the country, told the court that there was no guarantee that the results of what the case will be. The Shantytown policy was halted in August 2018 after Grant Thompson granted an injunction. Minister of National Security Marvin Dame says he believes police will have no issue enforcing the Prime Minister's proposed vaccination day when all fully vaccinated people will enjoy the suspension of emergency order restrictions. His comments coming days after PLP leader Philip Davis said the event would cause confusion. Dames says he has confidence in the police. And police shooting and killing a man that they claim was armed with a cutlass. Police say officers received reports regarding a disturbance at a home shortly before 9 a.m. in the Chippingham area. Officers arrived and met the man with that cutlass. He was asked to put the weapon down, but didn't do so, according to police. They also say that he charged at them and that the officer discharged his service weapon. Police say the man was struck several times. The victim died at the hospital. Overseas, U.S. President Joe Biden and Russia's President Vladimir Putin sit down today for their highly anticipated summit in the Swiss city of Geneva, a moment of high-stakes diplomacy at a time when both leaders agree that relations between their countries are at an all-time low. For 4 months, the two leaders have traded sharp rhetoric, Biden repeatedly calling out Putin for malicious cyber attacks by Russian-based hackers on U.S. interests, a disregard for democracy with the jailing of Russia's foremost opposition leader, and interference in American elections. Putin, for his part, has reacted with whataboutisms and obfuscations pointing to the January 6th insurrection at the U.S. Capitol to argue that the U.S. has no business lecturing on democratic norms and insisting that the Russian government hasn't been involved in any election interference or cyber attacks despite U.S. intelligence showing otherwise. Now the pair will meet for their first face-to-face as leaders, a conversation that's expected to last for 4 to 5 hours. Biden says it will be an important step if the United States and Russia were able to ultimately find stability and predictability in the relationship. Putin's spokespeople saying that no breakthroughs are expected and that the situation is too difficult in Russian-American relations. In sports, after the COVID-19 pandemic postponed the Billie Jean King Cup by BNP Paribas, formerly the Fed Cup in 2020, the Bahamas women's national tennis team prepared now for the match play in Panama City when the cup is set for June 23rd through 26th. The Bahamas will be represented by a strong team: Carrie Cartwright, player captain, Simone Pratt, Sydney Clark, and Elena Mackey. Mackey was added on the team back in early May when Larica Russell locked it out of the team. You can read more about it in today's Guardian Sports section. From the NBA, Kevin Durant delivering a sensational performance last night, leading the Nets to a 3-2 win in their Eastern Conference semifinal. The Brooklyn Nets needed much more than points Tuesday night, so Durant gave them one of the most spectacular performances in postseason history. Durant had 49 points, 17 rebounds, and 10 assists, sending the Nets back into the lead in the Eastern Conference semifinals. 114-108, that score over the Milwaukee Bucks in Game 5 last night. That's sports, and that's the overnight. Time for your first look at weather. In your weather for today, we've got multi-layered troughing along with tropical moisture creating some unsettled weather over portions of the Bahamas, mainly the northwest Bahamas, while a ridge of high pressure is draped across the islands. Mariners should be alert for low visibility and possible waterspout activity. Residents should be alert for flooding in low-lying and flood-prone areas. There is a risk of rip currents as well along east and southerly shores in the southeast Bahamas. For today, for the northwest and central islands, look for cloudy to overcast conditions, hot and sticky as well, with scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms through tonight. Expect gusty winds and higher seas in showers and thunderstorms. Wind south-southeast to south-southwest at 10-15 knots, falling light and variable at times, seas 2 to 4 feet. For the southeast Bahamas, partly cloudy, hot and breezy with isolated showers or thunderstorm, becoming partly cloudy, warm and windy with a passing shower tonight. Small craft should exercise caution. Winds east to southeast at 15 to 20 knots, seas 4 to 6 feet. Temperature-wise, we are already up to 81 degrees in Nassau under mostly cloudy skies, 77 in Freeport. Look for highs getting up to around 90 Fahrenheit, 32 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down to about 75 Fahrenheit, 24 Celsius. That's your first look at weather this morning. We'll have your extended outlook and look at the tropics coming up after traffic in just a bit. It's time for a break, but when we come back, we are discussing the day's top stories right here on Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9, your home for fresh news and smart talk all day.
Tired of banks forcing you to use technology to bank the way they want you to? Your convenience is important. So no matter what your banking needs, Commonwealth Bank's friendly staff are always available in branch for that personal one-on-one service. But when you choose technology, our online and mobile banking app offers you state-of-the-art functionality. The choice is yours. Commonwealth Bank. Bank the way you want.
Technology serves to make our lives better, so why not your business too? At Custom Computers, we've been maintaining our knowledge and relationships with top tech companies since 1987 and carry only the most trusted brands like Apple, Microsoft, HP, and more. No company has helped more businesses build reliable IT systems than Custom Computers. You name it, we've done it. Call 396-1101 to talk to any of our business experts. Find trust in your tech. Count on Custom Computers.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. It's the start of a new way. You know that it's the start of the end of the old way. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
We are back here with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9, streaming live on GuardianTalkRadio.com and on the Guardian Radio app for smart devices. We're also on your televisions on Cable Bahamas Channel 969 and BTC Flow Channel 612. You can tweet us at Morning Blend 969 or Facebook.com/Morning Blend 969. Email us morningblend@nasguard.com, or you can text us on the Guardian Radio text line powered by BTC 422-GR96, 422-4796. Standard text rates apply. Coming up this morning, more weather and traffic. And a little bit later in the show, we're going to be talking about a national blood drive for Grand Bahama. You know, this is always a challenge. Giving blood, having enough blood in the country. We're going to talk about how you can help with that in just a bit. Many great corporate partners coming together to assist with that as well. Then in Morning Blend Business, we're going to be talking about corporate tax, corporation tax, with the G7 and other nations really pushing for a global corporate tax. Just what is it? How will it help? Will it help us? Is it just for external groups? Is this an answer to some of our financial problems? Okay, we're going to find out all about, well, we're going to try to find out today from our expert panel. That's coming up. But once again, I'm Dwight Strachan, joining me live in studio. Is this 2 weeks? Is this back to normal now? The new normal? Is it? This is it? Yeah. Chester Robards is here.
Yeah, fine. Might be the new normal.
You're fully vaccinated, and
I am 1 week away.
1 week, almost
from being fully vaccinated.
Okay, all right. Good for you.
According to the 14-day, post-shot thing.
Fantastic. I'm happy for you. That's wonderful stuff. All right. So, great to have you back. Great to have you back. Feels like 2019 again.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody agrees with you, but all right.
Okay. Anyway, so we have a lot to get to this morning. Let's begin, though, with what's in the news. And in the news, just a few things before we get to our top story, where we want to talk about this morning. On the big headline, the Nassau Guardian, bouncing back. D'Aguilar says tourism growing by leaps and bounds. You heard in the overnight the numbers of the number of people getting the travel health visa going up steadily every single month, from 22,000 in January to 30,000 in February, 64,000 in March, 68,000 in April, 110,000 last month, and so far almost 300,000 people have visited the Bahamas for the year. And that's, compared to last year, of course, that's amazing, but and not quite where we were in 2019, but this is understandable, of course. Some people still very skittish about traveling, but this is a promising sign.
I also don't think we're back to the airlift that we had in 2019.
No. Probably.
Finding your way here is maybe a little more challenging and maybe a little more expensive too.
Yeah. So that's great stuff.
I especially like the statistic about the Nassau Family Island breakdown. It's 60-40 since the pandemic, because of the pandemic, when it used to be 75-25.
Oh.
So it was as good for the Family Islands.
That's amazing. That's wonderful. So that's going in the right direction. Hopefully that will stay like that.
Yeah, for Family Islands.
Or become
or improve.
More right.
Yeah.
More parity going forward. As we talked about yesterday, though, I'm always saying this, a little concerned about what there is for people to do. But I might be the only one on this, because not many of you responded to my concerns about this yesterday. But anyway, whatever. Okay, the beach is there. People love the beach, I guess. Mm-hmm. That's great. Hey, but that's wonderful. Glad to hear those numbers.
It was a joke. It was a joke that I found yesterday in what Minister of Tourism D'Aguilar said yesterday, when he said, people went to the Family Islands in droves because the Family Islands are low density. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, it ain't low density no more. A bunch of them gone there, right? That was kind of
Yeah, well,
especially Harbor. I hear Harbor Island was packed out with people.
I can imagine.
Yeah,
I can imagine. But anyway, that's good stuff. So hopefully people are benefiting from that. I see some interesting numbers. So this number here saying that it can home porting at least will deliver an extra $50 million to the economy. Well, okay. Who's it going to?
The economy. However you slice that up.
Sure, it just comes.
However you slice it up.
All right. Okay, that's great. And the budget debate continues. The opposition leader is saying that it falls flat, ignores the dire economic reality that we are in. And this was interesting. He says, this is Philip Davis saying the budget is, quote, about selfish political ambitions, not shared national ambition. This budget is a guilty plea and admission that they will never do more than tinker, even though we desperately need an overhaul. You want someone to transform the economy? Ain't gonna be these fellas, because it's working just fine for them and for their friends. We can't afford to continue on this path. We have to make big changes, not small ones. We need to restructure our debt so it doesn't drown us. I'm going to tell you how. We need to end stupid spending. Some of the decisions this government has made, it's like they lit the money on fire for all the good it's done for the people. We need to invest in new sectors of the economy. The over-reliance on one industry is something we can and should leave behind. Okay. He also says, quote, there are more opportunities than ever before to diversify, and in doing so, to create wealth and ownership for a new generation. Well, many feel the same way. We are not entirely sure that he knows how to do this either.
Yeah.
But Harry knows.
A lot of colorful things he said there, but
Yeah.
didn't offer much more beyond that.
Likely very accurate. Extremely. But what is the plan there other than to say that we must do that? Okay, then you can read more about that today. This got a lot of attention yesterday. The government considering scrapping the plan to erect those domes. 100 temporary domes still awaiting erection on Abaco and Grand Bahama, even all these months after Dorian, but now they're wondering if they should. Funding is an issue, apparently, and they were supposed to be temporary anyway. Hurricane season's coming, and people always had concerns about that during... Well, here. Hurricane season, almost a month into hurricane season.
Yeah.
And, so that's...
But they have the domes.
They have them
They've had them
since...
I mean, they put some up already.
They put a couple of them.
And I was there. I saw the igloos on the pallets.
That's what they are.
And
Yeah. So what are they going to do?
they still got that one on Gladstone Road as a mock-up. What is it? I don't know.
Is it still there?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do they have in there?
I don't know what they have in there. Storage, maybe.
You probably don't want to know. Yeah. Funding is an issue. Okay. All right. So that's happening. And also we hear Supreme Court Justice Cheryl Grant Thompson has adjourned the ongoing judicial review, the Shantytown judicial review, so she can make her final ruling. Again, we don't know how long that's going to take, but hopefully we get an answer to that soon. It's been a very long time.
You had a good show on about that yesterday. About people being able to talk about.
Oh, you actually. Yes.
Don't get on like I don't listen to the show.
Yes. My mother even called to say, "Oh, wow, that lawyer's amazing." So Darrell,
always enjoyed Darrell.
Yeah, she's excellent. She's wonderful. Darrell Taylor. All right. This was a big story yesterday as well. A man was shot and killed by police on Poitier Avenue. This is in Chippingham. Police say officers received reports regarding a disturbance at a home shortly before 9 a.m. Officers arrived and met a man who was armed with a cutlass. Now, there was more on, they said that he charged at them and they shot him and killed him. There was more on this on, we played it on our evening news, and you could have seen the report on the visuals on the television report on our partners, RTV. Our Jared Hicks spoke to one of the family members who said they called the police because he seemed to be having, he was in mental distress, and they called the police. And of course, that ended badly, as it often does when the police are involved. This is around the world, right? Especially in the U.S. We know that if you call the police for a family member in distress, often it doesn't end well. There have been some great reports, great studies being done, and even the U.S. is trying to change that. But in Europe, I've just been watching some documentaries, some programs talking about it, how a mental ambulance is often sent in some of these more progressive European countries. Not just the police. People who are trained in psychology, psychiatry, they come out as well to get this, turn down the heat on these situations.
We also don't have non-lethal options for the police.
Doesn't seem so. Right? Because, maybe a taser would have worked very well there.
To disarm him.
Right.
Or rubber bullets, or however that works.
Something. Right? This, I don't understand why we have to be behind on this one, right? This is a small, small place. Come on now.
Maybe we don't recognize mental health when it comes to those kinds of situations.
Oh.
I don't know.
You like to talk about during Mental Health Awareness Month, but otherwise, oh no. He was sitting, according to the family member, he was sitting on the bed in the home, which might be his home. So how? How do we get to this? Yeah. Here, the police, they felt that they were in danger, but as Chester says, right, we have to have some other means to disarm people. He didn't come at you with a gun.
And you don't have to come at people with a gun. You're right.
Yeah. Okay. Think about that, folks. Think about that. What I want to get to, though, is what the Minister of National Security had to say yesterday. Because the thought in my head was going to explode over the weekend, and Monday morning I said what I had to say about it, and yet here we are. Because I really do believe that by Thursday, but maybe not now after hearing this, because clearly everybody's losing their senses. The National Security Minister says the police can enforce a proposed vaccination day. Should be pretty easy, according to the National Security Minister. They'll have no issue with this. You remember that? What the Prime Minister said could happen? I mean, he might announce a day when all fully vaccinated people could go out and do whatever they want, party, no curfew. Mm-hmm. And is it a one-time thing, or is it going to be like indefinitely?
Yeah, 1 day.
Oh, is it 1 day?
That's what I'm thinking. It's vaccination
day. Well, it was 1 day. But anyway, take a listen to this. What's the point of why 1 day?
Leave it alone. Leave it. Just let it go.
That makes any sense?
Let it go. It's 1 day.
1 day is all it takes to spread COVID. Anyway, take a listen to this report from our Jared Higgs.
Fully vaccinated, then you should have something in your possession saying that you're fully vaccinated.
With the Prime Minister expected to announce changes to restrictions for vaccinated persons on Thursday, National Security Minister Marvin Dames was pressed on how police would enforce such a change. On top of alluding to a vaccination day, Dr. Minnis hinted at a change in the curfew for people who are vaccinated. Dames told reporters at Cabinet today that vaccinated persons will need to show proof.
Anytime an action is taken, and in this case by the competent authority, we have to plan around it. We'll have to see how it's rolled out, and we'll plan accordingly.
Dames downplayed suggestions that the enforcement would be overwhelming, saying police and Defence Force officers are used to planning. He was also asked how they would deal with the potential for forged vaccine records.
See that they've been doing an extremely a great job in cracking down on those persons who were producing false travel visas, right? That is what they do, all right? They're there to ensure that that we abide by the law.
Last week, Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis announced a vaccination day where vaccinated people could gather and engage in activities prohibited under the emergency order. He also hinted at those changes to restrictions in a side interview with reporters.
I just don't agree with it. You got to be fair with everybody, not just a particular group setting.
With the vast majority of Bahamians unvaccinated, as vaccine hesitancy remains high, Minnis's comments weren't received well by many.
I think that's nonsense. You know why? That's a plan to force people to take the vaccination.
36-year-old Romeo Brown is unvaccinated and says the potential perks won't change his mind.
The ones who are vaccinated, we get to have fun, and the ones who are not vaccinated, you trying to you punish us? I don't think that make any sense.
This recently vaccinated woman also thinks the idea is unfair. Are you vaccinated?
Yes, I got vaccinated yesterday.
Okay, so did that encourage you to get vaccinated, or?
No, only because work purposes. I need to get back to work. I did it.
But this unvaccinated man says he shouldn't get to enjoy the benefits laid out for vaccinated people if he isn't vaccinated himself. Why is it fair?
I mean, because they vaccinated, they take the vaccine. It doesn't make any sense for me to enjoy myself if I'm vaccinated.
Reporting for the Guardian News Network, I'm Jared Higgs.
Okay. All right.
He's a natural empath.
So, whatever the competent authority rolls out, they have to find a way to make it happen. Basically, I'm paraphrasing there. Regardless of it making sense or not, you just gotta, whatever. Okay.
I mean,
yeah.
It's the same thing, right? I mean, isn't it kind of the same
that's been going on all this time?
That's been going on the whole time.
Sure. Well, I mean,
when there was days when only
essential
workers could go out.
Yeah.
the police were checking people's IDs and etc. Isn't it the same thing? Is it not the same thing?
It's not the same thing.
Why isn't it the same thing? You have a vaccination record. It's like an ID.
It's not the same thing.
Why isn't it the same thing?
Those essential workers were putting themselves in grave danger. And many of them got very sick.
No, it wasn't.
Right?
It wasn't about that. It was.
And life had.
I'm talking about the.
But that was
the
for
strategy that has to be employed by the police.
It's so different, though. It was. Yes, fine, sure. But this is much more complicated. There weren't that many people on the road, essential workers. Right?
Oh, there was plenty of people on the road.
Not as many as there will be with this, and having to decipher who's who. And
there
whatever,
ain't that
right?
many people fully vaccinated yet.
Well, that's another thing.
And
right?
plenty of them is senior people who ain't going nowhere on vaccination day.
Okay, that makes no sense. Now,
I'm just saying.
So whether
that's the reality.
The party thing is a one-day thing, but is the curfew? Did you get the idea that wasn't going to be a one-day thing? Right? What
well,
he
I don't
said
know.
about
I don't know.
That didn't sound like it was going to be. Why would you mention that? Why would you mention that at all? Right? So he is considering, right, a different curfew for different people. That
could become problematic.
It is a problem. We can't do this, right? This is unconstitutional, unethical, unbelievable. This is ridiculous, right? Why would you think you could do something like that?
Yeah.
And again, the same problem that you're trying to prevent is throughout the day. Throughout the day, you have it. This is what people have been saying from that time with the questioning why we even had to have a curfew in the first place.
Yeah.
Right? It's clear that we have COVID mental fatigue, some of us, and that we really do need to either just stop right now, end everything right now, or maintain the status quo until we have a larger number of people vaccinated. This is not the way to do it. This is really getting into that discrimination thing that so many people are concerned about with other things, but quite fine to say, well, this is perfect because I'm vaccinated.
Was it not always kind of going to lead in that direction? Even if it wasn't, us who, in general, throughout the world, vaccinated people are getting more benefits already than unvaccinated people.
Yeah.
It was always going to lead in that direction.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's right or wrong.
I hear you.
But I'm just saying.
Yeah,
that's the way it was going to be.
You can't come in this place. You can't go on a cruise. You can't eat here.
Well,
it's a little different from
if
you have to be inside.
Your child can't go to some schools when you ain't vaccinated.
Yes. Right?
That's discrimination?
But those are also mandatory. You're saying that this isn't mandatory, but now you have to have a different curfew for you and a different curfew for these folks. Right? Because I could go to another restaurant. I could.
Absolutely.
All right? I could do that. But where am I to go if there's a different curfew? It's different.
Go home.
You go to a different school if they don't want you here.
Go home.
Go home, man. Okay. All right. Let's hear what you have to say, folks. We're still having that challenge. BTC, please. BTC, we need you to help us. BTC, our phone lines, 2 of them are down. We've got one BTC. Okay. The one working one, 325-4259 is already tied up. 325-4259. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Dwight. How you doing?
Doing well.
Great. I have 2 questions. I want to ask the first one and let you answer, and then I'll move on to the second one. Is Guardian aware that a plane landed on John Canoe Beach on Monday?
I've not heard about this.
I've seen the video.
Yeah? What happened?
It landed. And
a little plane?
A seaplane.
Yeah, and people were allowed to deplane. These were executives of the Point.
You sure they were executives of the Point?
Yeah, and they were allowed to deplane, saying that they had all the necessary authorization to land. And that's not a landing site. I think that was illegal landing, and the police was there. And they looked hysterical. And they got a call, and they allowed the people to deplane. People with suits on. And they were allowed to deplane and walk straight down to the Point, to their offices or whatever function they were
You know that happens throughout the Bahamas, though, right?
That's unbelievable. One other question I have to ask, Dwight.
That's what seaplanes do?
Talk show hosts, when they have, when you guys have political guests on your shows, they're allowed to make statements. You're asking them questions, but you're not playing back statements that they've made in the past and challenge them with the statements they've made in the past in accordance to what they are stating on your shows. I noticed on several of your shows, I listen avidly, that your hosts are bringing on political guests and giving them Christian treatment, and they're not playing back. Like I watch international news, CNN, MSNBC, and regardless of who they bring on, they play back statements that these people have made and ask them to speak to that according to what they are questioning them about. They challenge them. But your talk show host on this station, they give these political figures Christian treatment in every aspect. I noticed a few days ago on the 4 o'clock show, the host on the 4 o'clock show.
I would like you to call that show, though, to address your concerns about that any of the shows. But I do hear what you're saying.
Yes, broadly, your talk show host give the political figures Christian treatment. They would allow them to speak and speak and speak, but never play anything back. I think Guardian needs to be more innovative and get more creative.
It's a little more complicated than that. But I do hear you. There are a lot of things behind that. But yeah, okay. Thank you very much. Point taken. Yeah. Okay, we get back to what we're talking about today. 325-4259, 325-4259, and tweet us, Facebook us, text us, get to your text messages. Someone says here, regarding the country's, I'm not sure what this word is, impressive, that's supposed to be impressive all-time record-breaking tourism numbers since the administration took office in that landslide victory in May 2017. Tourism Minister Dionisio de Aguilar, in my view, is truly the Michael Jordan of this administration. Y'all are funny. Y'all are funny.
Oh, well. Call him MJ now.
Wow. Okay. Brave seems full of bright ideas while in opposition. You know who else was full of bright ideas in opposition? Minutes. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay. Sure. You sure? You What? Okay. Anyway, I think you're wrong on both counts. But anyway, opposition people always sound impressive. They are.
No, they don't.
Yeah, they do, because
No,
they can point out all they do. But unless you listen carefully, but on the surface, it's going to sound good. Yeah, we need to do better. You're right. We do need to improve things. Oh my gosh,
setting money on fire.
Hey, it's going to appeal to somebody, right?
Somebody.
Yeah. But when you ask them to give you some details, just like that, you heard that? Silence. Yes. Mm-hmm. This one says here. Oh, my goodness gracious. What more mechanisms do people need in place that are not already in place? Wrapping go to facilitate what now?
Huh?
This is economic industry transformation. They talk about what that is not already in place to facilitate the economic industry transformation. What more mechanisms do people need to facilitate the economic industry transformation they talk about? Okay. Sure.
It's a bit confusing.
And this one says, you have to watch Mr. Davis and the PLP opposition. They only speak with beautiful words that tantalize the ears, but they lack substance and know-how. They are not the answer. This one says, we are living in the Gaza Strip. Death everywhere. Black lives are less important. I don't know what you're saying. All right.
Okay.
Why don't we have access to more vaccines when in the U.S. they are giving it away in almost every store, airports, sporting events, beaches, etc.? We can do much better. At this rate, we will be under these orders until next year.
Yeah, but people also have to take the vaccine.
Right. You could go right now. You could go today and get yours.
They have.
Right? You can do that. So it's not about the number of places where it's available. It's available. Just get there. You can get it. All right. This one here says, so according to Dames, the National Security Ministry was not informed prior to the PM's announcement. I was joking about that the other day. I'm sure most people, everybody, probably heard about that for the first time on Friday.
Yep. Yeah.
People were like, huh? But we'll see. We'll see what happens on Thursday. This one says, this is a bunch of crap. Oh, boy. From Dr. Minnis and Marvin Dames. I'm an F&M. And this is the worst administration we have had to deal with. Discrimination is in full swing. And Minister Dames don't have the guts today that to say, I guess, that what the Prime Minister is proposing is foolishness. All of them have to go. I think it would have been better to say no comment there when they asked about that. Let's wait to hear what the Prime Minister has to say, perhaps. This one says, I'm always trying to understand why the police have to use deadly force with the gentleman with the cutlass. There have to be better ways. And haven't they been trained to handle tasers? If you're always in fear for your life from the public, then that's not the job for you. No, well, that's not what... Okay. A lot of people out there with mental health issues that need to be addressed. They don't mean that the police are scary or scared, just that they felt at that moment that they were going to be killed. Yeah. And so that's why, right? Not that they are scaredy cats.
Have we ever asked them why we don't use tasers?
No, I never asked.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I have friends in law enforcement in the States, and they're super excited when they actually get their taser.
Yeah.
Like, they get a gun from day one. But they're crazy excited when they finally go through taser training and get their tasers.
And even that can be deadly, so you have to be very careful with that.
If not used correctly.
Right. Yeah. We'll get to that caller in just a bit. This one says, what did you expect when the so-called competent authority said that one day he would have to break constitutional laws and no gatekeeper stood up? Then employers started demanding people to be vaccinated. No one stood up again. Now it's a curfew, cruise dining, indoors. No one's standing up again. So what do you expect? It'll keep happening, and our rights are being taken away, and the economy is destroyed. Sickening. So if the authorization was given, why is Mr. Alarmist making issues out of it? Who are you talking about? Who's that?
Who?
You all are attacked. What? This is old? This is... What? Oh, okay. Y'all are attacking the great one, Brave. And some of the fans of Brave will be mad. These leaders always talk a good talk when they are in opposition, but when they get in, their cronies have to be paid. What? Then they forget all financial responsibility. They forget the country, but remember themselves. But they're thanking BTC for keeping the phones off. Wow, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Texter. Okay, let's take this call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Dwight and Jess. How are you doing?
Good.
Hi, good morning.
Okay, you can hear me clearly, Dwight?
Oh, yes.
Excellent, and good morning to the nation. Just wanted to chime in on the contributions from the leader of the official opposition and next Prime Minister in the Bahamas, the Honorable Philip Brave Davis. Chester, you would have made a statement regarding the contribution from Mr. Davis, stating that you don't think he knows how to get done what he spoke to, that his government will implement. I want to challenge you on that. I also want to point you and anyone in the country who wants the details on exactly how the PLP, underneath the leadership of Mr. Davis and his deputy, Mr. Cooper, will accomplish our agenda. I want to point you to plpbahamas.org, where all of the details are fully laid out. Clearly, Parliament yesterday would not have provided him with the amount of time required in order for him to get into the details. But just to name a few of them, Dwight.
No. Can't do that. Can't do no.
Okay, Dwight.
Get into advertising now. But yes, you told people where they can go, and we've had representatives from the party on to discuss it, and they can absolutely go there.
Can I mention two of the major items that would be tackled?
But we really were trying to focus on what the National Security Minister is saying on this ridiculous vaccine.
But you also spoke to what the leader of the opposition stated.
Very briefly.
Okay, thank you very much.
I mean, we very briefly spoke on it. But yeah, we Anton, we gotta go. We right. So like I said, people go onto the website and you can read about it.
Also, I never said anything about his contribution.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, he's typically not the one in opposition to talk about the PLP's future financial plans or economic plans.
Right.
So,
but go on the website, folks,
whatever.
and you can read about it. Blame the texter for that one there. Someone says the main issue I have with this vaccine holiday is that this is an experimental drug. Well, emergency use drug for emergency use only and not approved. It should not be treated as an approved vaccine. Okay, well. Another one here. I am doubtful that any reasonably intelligent person paying attention was caught by surprise by the recent intimated vaccination day. This is on par for the course. However, what is utterly stupefying is that his cabinet of grown professional men and women would be complicit in this nonsense. Well, like I said, he was pulled to the side in the hot sun on a Friday, and maybe it's a combination of things that caused him to say such nonsense. We will hear what he says in the air-conditioned house on Thursday, if that after a good night of sleep, hopefully, whether he says, if he repeats, if he utters such nonsense again. Right?
Maybe the microchip in the vaccine.
Stop! Don't do that.
From Bill Gates tells you to have vaccination day.
People will believe. Nobody else is saying it, though. They're all immune. They're all immune,
No.
but just the one doctor who was in the sun, apparently. Okay. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Golly days, this is Strachan, the voice along with you in Chester, Dwight.
Morning.
Before I make my two main points, I want to ask Chester. Now, you said that the planes usually comes to various islands, right? Seaplane, right? And people get off, right? Do you know whether or not it's legal for them to do that? Okay, I'll wait on the answer.
Can you hear me?
Huh? I can hear you.
It is legal.
Say it again?
It's legal.
It's legal. Oh, okay. Now, my two main points, right? Now, the tourists in which are going to the family islands, those of us who have grandchildren and great-grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren, we should make government to know that the Bahamas, and make those people to know that the Bahamas are not for sale. To lease a piece of property or a key is okay, but not to be sold because we have those children. Other point is, right, there is a lot of foreigners on the police force, and some of them even cannot speak English properly.
Now, I don't know what you're
I'm telling you what I know. Okay? And the government or the person that's responsible for the police should look into that, because our people shouldn't be just being killed for unnecessarily reasons.
So you really are going down. What are you suggesting? What? Oh, come on.
Does he mean they're undereducated? Is that what he means?
I don't think that's what he meant. But that would have been. But wow. Okay. Maybe this third line should be disconnected too.
Wow.
Maybe we should. Oh Lord. Okay. So how are you going to tell the tourists, like, when they walk off the plane? By the way, if you're planning on doing it, just lease. You can't have. What's that? I'm just curious. Just wondering.
You're talking about real estate?
Yeah. I'm just like, don't. We got grandchildren here. Don't try to buy up everything. Thank you. Have a great stay. Okay. Anyway, I often hear the Minister of Tourism bragging about record-setting tourist arrivals. All one needs to do is check the tourist arrivals from the last 10 years, and we would see the year-to-year increase by only 1,000 a year. Okay. What they do is they check it compared to the year before. Right?
Every single year.
Yeah. So, and then sometimes there are years when you have a recession and things go down. So the year before, well, anyway, whatever. Okay. So you're concerned. Yeah. Well, we need to grow. We are not doing as much as we should or could be doing. In any event. This person saying here, we're getting a lot of these messages. This is the third night in a row that my power has been off. This is the southwestern area. Is there any explanation being made about this? Frustrating. Not hearing very much from BPL. You saw something?
I saw something in a BPL group about Gladstone Road. Are they talking about that area? I don't know why it was off, but it was something about I don't know. I saw it somewhere.
Yeah, find it. Okay.
Yeah.
This person says, did Menace pull this idea out of you know what, or was he advised? Well, we will see. We will see. This one says, the stupidity surrounding this vaccination story is suffocating me. Why pretend that everything should always be equal for all people all the time? Should you be allowed to drive on the streets without a driver's license, even though you can drive better than lots of people with licenses? So if you want to drive an uncle to an important... So what if you want to drive an uncle to an important appointment? Politics aside, we seem to be dumbing deep down. Now, I really cannot believe you, Tex, you sound like an intelligent person, think that this is equivalent to that. Right? And first of all, that is a law that is required. But I mean, you think those are similar things? Vaccinated people are like people with driver's licenses? Huh. Okay. Well, I can tell you, it's only a matter of time before they start saying crazy things like vaccinated people only on the west side in New Providence, all the unvaccinated on the east side. Right?
Really?
It's only a matter of time once we start going down roads like this. It'd be easy to enforce a curfew then. Well, much. Right? Yeah, we can just, okay, you don't think it's an issue, it's fine. Different curfews for different people. Different curfews for different people. You can't, because you're not vaccinated, a non-mandatory vaccine.
We already have different curfews for different people.
Where?
On different islands.
That's different. It's everybody on that island.
So
it's very different. And during an emergency, right? So how long is this emergency going to be in for? Right? So how long do you plan to keep this up? Right? Well, why would you talk like this when you know that we are getting to the point where people are saying, okay, what is the point of still being under an emergency order? You introduce in a conversation like that, at this point, the idea of a different curfew for different people? What does that mean? What are you trying to do? What is the end game here? Something is amiss. Very much so, but you think it's the same as having a driver's license.
Well, you know what?
Okay.
You know what the end game is.
I don't know.
The end game is to get more people vaccinated.
You sure?
That's what.
This is not the way to do that.
I'm just saying that's what it is.
This is a foolish way to do that.
But I said when we heard it, that's not going to drive people to get vaccinated.
You might even get some people protesting now because wait a minute now, what?
It won't drive people to get vaccinated.
No.
People are now what private employers are doing is driving people to get vaccinated.
Yeah. So
that's
what you want, to let that be the thing, right?
And I don't know if that's happening at an alarming rate. People are just flooding vaccination centers because their jobs are eventually going to make them pay to get tested to come to work.
Let's take this final call, and then we've got to take a break. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Dwight. Good morning, Chester. Alan Johnson.
Hi, good morning.
Yeah, I know you mentioned that the country may not be for sale. Are you sure it's leadership, is it? We could welcome you to Grand Bahama. Would make Grand Bahama has enough to hold most of New Providence since they're not vaccinated. You know, Grand Bahama could hold easily 500,000 people, so just put all unvaccinated people in Grand Bahama.
All the unvaccinated. Okay.
Yeah, you can make our own economy. But one of the things
can we rule ourselves with our own laws and do our own
absolutely
thing? Absolutely. Yeah, that sounds good.
The House Agreement already give us that authority. That's why you're saying we don't need a competent authority.
Nice.
But what happens is this, when you speak of the competent authority, right, you know, remember it was said that the competent authority was a group of individuals rather than the Prime Minister? And notice I said, not to be true. So one simply have to do is go ask the nurses. I've asked the Guardian and others to simply ask them to give the list. Each time an order consultation happens, there should be some people signing off on it. And simply they could do is provide proof of the competent authorities that make up the competent authority. And you'll probably see there is none. And that's why when you see the emasculation of men and women in the cabinet, as well as doctors and nurses and everything else, because we have heard them contradict each other over and over again, which brings us to the fact that no decisions made in this country is made based on a data-centric type environment. It's simply from the seat of their pants.
Mm-hmm.
Now, but just let me say one thing, though, Dwight. I want you to pay attention to this. Do you know the world makes decisions on us using data? Right. Let me explain you an example, right? Because data is something I do, and I do for clients. We do deep searches on individuals. If they was to put Dwight in charge of digitization of the Bahamas, the first thing those multi-billion, trillion-dollar companies like Facebook and Google and Amazon and the rest of them will do when they hear you talk about digitizing, they will do a deep search on you, right? They even ask from me on occasion, I'm sure they do also on others, is what books you read, what websites you read, what journals you read, what articles you read. They actually have a score on your digital competence for the position that you are seeking to hold. And then upon reading it and find out that you don't even read any of those different things in spite of being in charge of digitization, transformation, and innovation, they go, well, this person is not serious. And so when we make announcement and pronouncement about what we're going to do, the world is using data to verify our competence and capability of achieving it. And when they don't, this is why we keep wondering, well, if we make all of these grand announcements, why isn't the world knocking on the door? Because they looking at you. You know, I know you may not have kids twice, but you know when you look at kids and they're sitting in there pretending, dressed up, pretending house, pretending cooking, pretending everything. The world knows that we're pretending. We don't know we're pretending. And so this is the problem we have when we don't put data in the front of what we do or put people as capable. This is why, Dwight, listen carefully. The government of the Bahamas make information and transformation announcement that the government departments are finally have landing pages. The government department is finally taking online credit card, 30-year-old technology.
My goodness.
And the news carries it as if though it's major accomplishment. You know, remember they said 99.5% of businesses in the Bahamas have not used advanced technology? We're the one in the cave. We don't realize that the world also knows that we're in the cave. And so until we actually stop pretending, we will not make progress. The world is moving at an advance of a year every month technologically. But we are talking about the same thing over and over again. It's almost like this internal loop.
Yeah.
And so we just need to wake up. Thank you so much, Dwight.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
That's because us as news reporters can't say finally.
You could.
In a story.
You could slip that in there.
No, not unless we write an editorial. We can't editorialize and go,
you could
finally.
Say, this is good news for a lot of people, right? Something like that. But
then we need somebody else to say it.
Yeah.
We can't say it.
Yeah.
But we can say it on the radio. Finally.
Yeah.
I've said it before. I was paying for my renewal of my driver's license online in the United States since I went to college years and years ago.
Yeah. Yep. You're just now catching up. Very scary. Very scary. A couple of messages before we go to the break. This one says here, I come to expect Dr. Minton saying crazy things, but for the Minister of National Security to try and justify that tells me what to think about this cabinet. They will sing to any tone the competent authority sings. Any tune, maybe. It's, yeah, okay. Yeah, we got this texture. Okay. The end game is to be able to say everyone is vaccinated so they can advertise it. This has nothing to do with saving lives. Oh, boy. Okay. Yeah. All right. Let us take a break. We'll be back with more. This is Morning Blend on a Wednesday morning here on Guardian Radio 96.9. Stay with us.
Good God. London town is too
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
Coronavirus update. I'm Rita Foley with an AP News Minute. Just as Presidents Biden and Putin begin meeting in Geneva, comes word that Moscow is making COVID vaccinations mandatory for those working in retail, healthcare, and other trades that interact with large numbers of people. In the U.S., the pandemic's now killed more than 600,000 people.
Average daily virus deaths are now around 340, a tenth of January's peak. With more than 40% of Americans now fully vaccinated, more governors are dropping restrictions, like California's Gavin Newsom.
We are here, June 15th, to turn the page.
And Andrew Cuomo in New York.
We can now
return to life as we know it.
New Yorkers will still have to wear masks in schools and on subways. Not so in Maryland, where Governor Larry Hogan says the state will not require masks anywhere. Sagar Magani, Washington.
And I'm Rita Foley.
And we've got your first good traffic for this morning, brought to you by RBC Royal Bank. In your real-time traffic, Sir Butler Highway, as usual, your hotspot this morning from Fire Trail all the way up to Tawny-Williams-Darling Highway in the northbound lanes. Heavy traffic there. Gladstone Road also busy for you this morning, northbound to JFK. Carmichael Road, heavy traffic building eastbound to Blue Hill Road, which is looking busy. Blue Hill from St. Vincent all the way up to Independence Drive, the roundabout there. Especially the northbound lanes north of Soldier Road. You're going to be seeing heavy traffic there. Elsewhere, the traffic's building on Carmichael Road westbound toward Coral Harbor Road and Prince Charles Drive at pockets at the major intersections. Charles Saunders Highway and Beatrice Avenue, that junction there as well. And there's some building traffic on Mackey Street and Marathon Road, northbound mainly. That's what we're looking at this hour. That's your real-time traffic and your Morning Blend Traffic Alert, brought to you by RBC Royal Bank, Banking Reimagined.
Roaming just got easier. Say hello to more with our new Liberty Prime plan. With more minutes, more texts, and more data to do the things you love right here at home and even when you travel. With the all-new Liberty Prime, Liberty Premium, and Liberty Elite, you've got one less worry. Roam again. Alive. Believe in best. Believe in best.
And we have another check of your weather for today, brought to you by Rev Cable Bahamas. We've got multi-layered troughing along with tropical moisture, creating uneven, unsettled weather across the Bahamas, mainly the northwestern islands, while a ridge of high pressure is draped across the country today. Mariners should be alert for low visibility and possible waterspout activity. Residents in low-lying and flood-prone areas should also be on alert today. And there is a risk of rip currents along east and south coast beaches in the southeast Bahamas. For today, for the northwest and central islands, cloudy to overcast, hot and sticky with scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms through tonight. For the southeast Bahamas, partly cloudy, hot and breezy with isolated showers or a thunderstorm, becoming partly cloudy, warm and windy with a passing shower tonight. Small craft should exercise caution. Another hot day in store, highs getting up to 90 Fahrenheit, 32 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down to about 75 Fahrenheit, 24 Celsius. In your extended outlook, high pressure will shift slowly eastward as upper level troughing and tropical moisture will continue to enhance shower activity over the country. For tomorrow, Thursday, look for cloudy to overcast, hot and humid conditions, continuing windy in the southeast Bahamas with scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms through tonight. For the Friday tomorrow, well, for Friday, later in the week, I wish it were tomorrow. Partly cloudy, hot and humid, becoming windy in the central and southeastern islands. Widely scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms. In the tropics, we're watching a broad area of low pressure over southern Mexico and the Bay of Campeche that should begin to move toward the north on Thursday tomorrow. The system has a 90% chance now of becoming a tropical depression as it moves across the Gulf of Mexico. That is your morning blend weather check, brought to you by Rev Cable Bahamas, you and us together.
Stay a step ahead of technology with certainty and support from Custom Computers. Our know-how team is here to help you zero in on your next big tech purchase, finding solutions that take your productivity to the next level using only the best and most reliable brands. With 4 stores all across Nassau on East Bay, West Bay, Old Fort Bay, and Palmdale, there's no stopping you from stepping up your tech. Reach out to us at 396-1100. Find trust in your tech. Count on Custom Computers.
Screws and Fasteners World, Balfour Avenue and Palm Beach Street, has those hard-to-find fasteners for you right now. You can find stainless steel regular hex, carriage bolts, galvanized bolts, threaded rods, nails, self-tap screws, sex bolts, anchor bolts, turnbuckles, masonry tools, hand tools, and weed whacker strings. Check out the rope selection and car body fasteners too. Special orders are welcome. It's your #1 fastener store. Screws and Fasteners World, Balfour Avenue and Palm Beach Streets. Call 326-1976.
Meet Jackie. Jackie's a hard worker with a steady income, but she has a personal loan and multiple credit cards to pay off. To keep her account current, Jackie opted for a loan from Fidelity Bank to consolidate her debt into one monthly payment and earn interest on a built-in savings account. Be like Jackie. Call 356-7764 to book a complimentary financial coaching session. Fidelity also offers virtual assistance. Fidelity, we're good for you.
You invest in your children, your home, and your community. But are you investing in your financial future? At CFAO, we specialize in investment management, retirement planning, mutual funds, and private wealth management. Our team of experts never stops helping you plan for tomorrow. Because tomorrow begins today. Call us at 502-7010 to see what our financial advisors can do for you. CFAO, growing wealth for future generations.
Travel less, but vacation more by indulging yourself and your family with the ultimate staycation getaway at Atlantis. Sleep in, relax, play, go out. Say yes to a fantastic staycation in your very own paradise just over the bridge. For reservations, call 363-6483 or visit Atlantis Local on Facebook for details.
Digital banking, online, RBC. RBC banking, online, pay your bills anytime.
RBC Digital Banking is so easy. Granny and Granddad can do it. Sign up for online banking or download the RBC Caribbean app.
With RBC, it's safe and easy. Send your money hassle-free. RBC.
Visit rbc.com/Caribbean/bank at home. RBC Royal Bank. Banking reimagined.
The new Guardian Radio app is here. Listen live to all our Guardian Radio shows and live video stream select programs in our studio. Get information about Guardian Radio shows and our hosts. Send messages, including text, email, and even call. All from our amazing new Guardian Radio app. Download it free today in your App Store for your Apple device or Play Store for your Android device. The all-new and improved Guardian Radio app.
Topping the news, insisting tourism is bouncing back. Tourism Minister Dionisio D'Aguilar brought the numbers to Parliament yesterday to prove that visitor arrivals are growing by leaps and bounds. He used travel health visa applications to track visitor entry, which he said was up by hundreds of thousands in the first 5 months of this year.
So in January of this year, 22,000 visitors received a health visa. In February, 30,000 visitors received a health visa. In March, 64,000 visitors received a health visa. In April, 68,000 visitors received a health visa. And in May, 110,000 visitors received a health visa. Mr. Speaker, as you can see, visitor arrivals are increasing by leaps and bounds. And so far in 2021, almost 300,000 visitors have returned to our shores. 300,000 for the first 5 months, and the rate of increase in their return, as you can see, Mr. Speaker, is phenomenal. Freetown, get ready to get back to work. Tourism is bouncing back.
D'Aguilar said Family Island tourism is bouncing back faster than travel to New Providence, with now 40% of our guests seeking to vacation in less populated areas.
So that confirms to me that the Family Islands are bouncing back faster than Nassau so far, since in 2019, 75% of the visitors came to Nassau, while 25% went to the Family Islands. So now it was 75 and 25 back in 2019, but as they start to come back, 60% to Nassau, 40% to the Family Islands. And that makes sense, Mr. Speaker. With the onset of COVID, people want a low-density, secluded vacation at a small boutique hotel or Airbnb, away from crowds and larger properties. And that is exactly what happened.
He said Eleuthera, mainly Harbour Island, benefited the most, hosting 27% of those persons visiting the Family Islands. 20% went to Bimini and Cat Key, mainly by boat from Florida, and 19% went to Abaco. Well, Opposition Leader Philip Davis has dismissed government's 2021-2022 budget as deceptive and devoid of innovation, inspiration, or compassion.
There's no plan here. No plan to manage $10 billion in debt. No strategy for economic growth. This budget is about selfish political ambitions, not shared national ambition. It is not what our country needs right now. They aren't interested in real change. They're here to defend instead of upend the status quo. This budget is a guilty plea, an admission that they will never do more than tinker, even though we desperately need an overhaul. You want someone to transform the economy. It ain't gonna be these fellas, because it's working just fine for them and for their friends. And it's not working for nearly anyone else.
During debate on that budget, Davis said the Prime Minister and Finance Minister missed the opportunity to step up and show true leadership, but instead failed to invest in new sectors, provided tax breaks for the wealthy and well-connected, hiked VAT, and borrowed an average of $2.5 billion each year without a single new hospital, school, or road to show for it.
We can't afford to continue on this path. We have to make big changes, not small ones. We need to restructure our debt so it doesn't drown us. We need to end stupid spending. Some of the decisions this government has made, it's like they lit money on fire for all the good it's done for the people. Mr. Speaker, it's important to understand that the Prime Minister, the Minister of Finance, when constructing this budget, faced a choice. He could confront the nation's problems head on, or he could kick the can down the road. He made his choice to delay and therefore to deceive, and the country is worse off because of it.
Davis said there is zero evidence this Minnis administration has learned anything from its many blunders over the past 4 years, and that it has done nothing to deserve more time from voters. He argued the Bahamian people need a government that can make the tough decisions, provide true relief for the small man, instead of just providing tax breaks for fat cats. In other news, National Security Minister Marvin Dame says police will request to see proof of vaccination from persons moving around during curfew hours designated for vaccinated individuals only. That after the Prime Minister hinted he could relax curfew hours for the fully vaccinated. Jared Higgs has that.
If you're fully vaccinated, then you should have something in your possession saying that you're fully vaccinated.
With the Prime Minister expected to announce changes to restrictions for vaccinated persons on Thursday, National Security Minister Marvin Dames was pressed on how police would enforce such a change. On top of alluding to a vaccination day, Dr. Minnis hinted at a change in the curfew for people who are vaccinated. Dames told reporters at Cabinet today that vaccinated persons will need to show proof.
Anytime an action is taken, and in this case by the competent authority, we have to plan around it. We'll have to see how it's rolled out, and we'll plan accordingly.
Dames downplayed suggestions that the enforcement would be overwhelming, saying police and Defence Force officers are used to planning. He was also asked how they would deal with the potential for forged vaccine records.
See that they've been doing an extremely a great job in cracking down on those persons who were producing false travel visas, right? That is what they do, all right? They're there to ensure that that we abide by the law.
Last week, Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis announced a vaccination day where vaccinated people could gather and engage in activities prohibited under the emergency order. He also hinted at those changes to restrictions in a side interview with reporters.
I just don't agree with it. You got to be fair with everybody, not just a particular group setting.
With the vast majority of Bahamians unvaccinated, as vaccine hesitancy remains high, Minnis's comments weren't received well by many.
I think that's nonsense. You know why? That's the plan, to force people to take the vaccination.
36-year-old Romeo Brown is unvaccinated and says the potential perks won't change his mind.
The ones who are vaccinated, we get to have fun, and the ones who are not vaccinated, you trying to you punish us? I don't think that make any sense.
This recently vaccinated woman also thinks the idea is unfair. Are you vaccinated?
Yes, I got vaccinated yesterday.
Okay, so did that encourage you to get vaccinated, or?
No, only because work purposes. I need to get back to work. I did it.
But this unvaccinated man says he shouldn't get to enjoy the benefits laid out for vaccinated people if he isn't vaccinated himself. Why is it fair?
I mean, because they vaccinated, they take the vaccine. It doesn't make any sense for me to enjoy myself if I'm vaccinated.
Reporting for the Guardian News Network, I'm Jared Higgs.
Well, a jury heard yesterday that Petty Officer Percival Popal had reported Marine Javon Seymour AWOL, away without leave, just 5 days before Seymour allegedly walked onto the grounds at Government House and shot Popal to death. Prosecutors presented that information from Petty Officer William Johnson as motive for the attack of April 28, 2019, for which 37-year-old Seymour has been charged with murder and 2 counts of attempted murder. Seymour has denied those charges. Officer Johnson, who is guard commander for the military police unit, testified that in February of 2019, Seymour told him he was going to Ragged Island on special attachment with Popal. 2 months later, he said Seymour claimed he had gotten injured while in Ragged Island and received 3 to 4 days off from the medical officer. He said Seymour showed him a leave pass which expired on April 18th. However, Johnson said he learned on April 9th that Seymour was AWOL after his sick days expired. He said Seymour asked him to find out who reported him AWOL, but Johnson claimed he was unable to get that information. Johnson added that Seymour asked him to say he had authorized the leave, but that he couldn't because the AWOL charge stemmed from Seymour's assignment in Ragged Island and that only Popal could get him off of that charge. Johnson told the court an AWOL charge could result in a fine, affect promotion, or result in a Marine being confined to base. That trial continues. Stay with us. There's more news after the break.
Serenity Gated Community. Come and see what all the buzz is about surrounding our pre-construction home packages. Already, we have successfully made it possible for multiple families to realize their dream of home ownership. It's all about value building, folks. Home investment is by far the greatest investment one will ever make. So invest with confidence. Give Desiree Mingo a call at 376-0318 today.
Welcome home. Days come and days go, but each day has specials at super value and quality supermarkets like Crisco vegetable oil, 48-ounce bottle, $3.49. Hunt's ketchup, 32-ounce jar, $2.39. Bashette macaroni and cheese, 7 1/4-ounce box, 2 for $1.29. Idaho potatoes, 5-pound bag, $3.39. Danish spare ribs, $2.69 per pound. If it's value you want, you really want super value and quality supermarkets.
Everything is changing, and your favorite hardware and home improvement store is getting with the program. We Buy You Sell is rolling out its new online shopping feature. If you go to our website, wbusbahamas.com, it's a quick and easy 3-step process. Step 1, browse the gallery and select your item. Step 2, add to cart. And step 3, check out. Go to our website, wbusbahamas.com, to shop with us today.
How the exercise going? Not too good. What happened? Hey, you know Mr. Junior make me one treadmill. Make? You know how he like tinker. Anyhow, he built this treadmill and he hook it up to one of them clothesline, which you could spin. You know the kind what I mean? You made a one what look like the upside down umbrella? That's the one. He figure that since I was working out, I just power up one of them clothesline, so he hook it up direct to the treadmill. Oh, so whilst you're walking, spinning, Makes sense to me. Makes sense to you, eh? You know how heavy wet clothes is? But anyhow, I right there struggling to get the treadmill going. Slow. She start to go now. The treadmill going and the clothes spinning. This time now I building up speed. I running now. I running. The clothes spinning fast now. You're flying now. Yes, and so was the clothes. You would have thought he had enough sense to screw the thing down, eh? The clothes going? I see where they land yet. So what you gonna do? Go back to Superwash where I should have gone in the first beginning. Superwash. They washes your presses and cleans you 24/7.
Give me my pizza right away. Gotta move quick, no time to wait. No long lines inside the place. Little Caesars, I love the taste. Hot and ready. Just come now, you don't have to call, now you don't have to wait. Hot and ready. Large pepperoni, $7.99 every day. Hot and ready. Oh, yeah. Straight out the oven and freshly made. Hot and ready. Little Caesars is hot and ready. Little Caesars is. Get yours now at Oaksfield, Carmichael Road, and now East Street South, Pineapple Plaza. Pizza.
Don't wait for disaster to strike. This hurricane season, be ready. Protect your home with an affordable and comprehensive home insurance policy from Shield Insurance. You can't control what nature blows your way, but with Shield Insurance, you can rest easy as you ride out the storm. Protect your largest and most valuable investment. Don't take a chance. Put your home in our hands.
Shield Insurance agents and brokers in Nassau. Call 356-7202 or Freeport 352-5945.
Edinburgh Napier University is holding an information session at the Ballroom Courtyard Marriott on June 23rd from 6:30 to 8 p.m. Attendees can learn about the university's NACOB-recognized 100% online bachelor and master's degrees, and also the Pathway program offered by the Bahamas Baptist University College, leading to ENU's final year bachelor degree in business management. Visit seidegrees.com to make a reservation for the session. That's seidegrees.com to fast track your career.
Reggie gone to Sunrise one day and tell Miss Wallace, I need a band for my watch, please. Miss Wallace say, Reginald, do have a seat and we'll be with you in a minute. He say, well, you just suffer from this two. She say, suffer from what? He say, this. She say, oh, that. Well, I tries to tailor make my services them to fit the needs of all of my customers. Reggie get excited. He say, that's amazing. I get a couple of more watches. I can bring them to you to more. She say, more. He say, yeah. She say, Reggie, I'll be here from 9 o'clock in the morning.
Sun Isles Watch and Clock, number 112 Montrose Avenue. Watch and clock sales and repairs for over 40 years.
Welcome back. Government's decision to make hundreds of workers on the 52-week jobs program permanent is not sitting well with BPSU President Kingsley Ferguson. He says others have been waiting much longer for the same benefit. Gillian Gray explains.
BPSU President Kingsley Ferguson called it a slap in the face for the Minister of Public Service to announce that workers on the 52-week program will be made permanent when he says others have been waiting for decades.
It's indeed a bitter pill to swallow for persons who would have been working in the public service for some 26, some 20, some 15 years, to know that somebody that just came 2 or 3 years ago, the government is seeking to regularize those persons before they regularize the persons with long-standing service. And so the union is very concerned.
In the House of Assembly last week, Brensel Roll announced that 1,102 people from that program will be made permanent. Roll said the government also regularized 600 government workers, but the Public Service Union president says there are thousands more still waiting.
The minister seems to be patting himself on the back in the House of Assembly, indicating that there's some 1,102 persons that are part of the job creation program. And he said, as he spoke, those persons are being regularized. Well, please, pray tell me, what about the persons who has 20 and 30 years that has not even been given consideration? It is lowering the morale in the public service. And the union is very concerned. This particular administration has not been very labor-friendly.
His concern is for those who are near retirement and may be leaving without a pension. Ferguson says it's a bitter reality for some who have already left and are struggling to survive.
I am concerned in that some persons at social services would have already retired and do not receive a pension. If this is not exploitation, then I don't understand what it is.
Ferguson called the minister's contribution and the entire budget a play at getting back in power.
This budget that the government has prepared seems to be the budget of the incumbent with a view to ensuring that they are re-elected. I do believe it's an appeal to the voting constituency in this country, of which the workers of this country is the largest constituency. I am of the view that the workers of this country, based on the response that this administration has given towards the trade union movement, I don't think the workers of this country is really enticed by what the government is presenting. They're very disgusted with the government.
For the Guardian News Network, I'm Jillian Gray.
That's going to do it for local news. Stay with us. AP News is next.
If you're a business owner, get ready because the digital transformation is here. As a business owner, you now face the choice between innovation and extinction, but you don't have to get left behind. Join the click with Cable Bahamas Business Solutions and transform your office to get the competitive advantage. With innovative solutions like our fixed and mobile services, hosted PBX, Bahamas Cloud, and more, you can redefine your business. For more information on how you can join the click, contact the experts at businesssolutions@cablebahamas.com.
Samantha's always on point. She doesn't miss a thing. When she signs up for any insurance policy, she reads all the fine print. She knows what's covered, what's not covered, and she's aware of her deductibles. When it comes to insurance, it pays to know your policy. Review every insurance policy so you know what you're covered for. This message was brought to you by the Insurance Commission of the Bahamas.
Apex Award Signs and Engraving is excited about this summer's graduation. Celebrate your graduates with high-quality custom graduation signs available at great low prices. Need custom printing on apparel, promotional merchandise printing, or photo imaging services? No problem. You can get personalized diploma covers, plaques, plates, albums, clocks, pens, pencils, and so much more. Say congratulations to the class of 2021 with signs, hanging banners, and expressing appreciation on social media. Celebrate 2021 graduates with your own custom yard sign, banner, or poster from Apex Award Signs and Engraving, number 128 Mount Royal Avenue, or on Wilton Street, a block north of McCartney's Pharmacy. Open weekdays 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Saturdays 9 to 1.
When does a simple meal become exceptional? You guessed it, when it's made the Fresh Market way. We're talking exquisite cuts of fresh meat, succulent fresh seafood options, the best in fresh produce, and who can forget our exotic spices and herbs? Come on, get ready to shake up your taste buds and let our aisles inspire your inner food genius. Homemade salted caramel ice cream, egg noodle stir fry, time to walk and roll. Slow smoked beef ribs, oh baby! Remember, go fresh and craft delicious with Fresh Market.
At Master Technicians, we have what your family traditions need, starting with industry best refrigerators, ranges, and ovens. We also carry Whirlpool washer and dryers, dishwashers and freezers, leading KitchenAid countertop appliances, blenders, microwaves, juicers, kettles, and KitchenAid stand mixers. We even do free delivery in New Providence or to the boat of your choice. Whether you're doing the laundry, creating new memories in the kitchen, or spending family time in front of the television, Master Technicians Limited, keeping family traditions alive for more than 50 years.
What is a lumpkin? Time for my annual summer sale. I don't even know where to start. We got so much things we putting on sale. If I was to try and name all of them, this would be a 5-minute infomercial. Anyhow, most everything will be on sale, but I want people to check out my Bahamian design and made patio stones and planters. These are simply, I even ain't know how to say this, but they're unique. Ain't nothing like them on the island. They one of a kind. Plus, you know I can have all of them floor covering on sale. So check them out if you want some great prices on tile. Sale running till July 9th.
June continues to be a great month to save at super value and quality supermarkets. Best Yet evaporated milk, 12-ounce can, 95 cents. Goya dried pigeon peas, 14-ounce size, 2 for $3. Sweet strawberries, 1 pound, $4.99. Rainbow tuna, 5-ounce can, 69 cents. Premium boneless chuck steak or roast, $5.99 per pound. If it's value you want, you really want super value and quality supermarkets.
Tired of banks forcing you to use technology to bank the way they want you to? Your convenience is important. So no matter what your banking needs, Commonwealth Bank's friendly staff are always available in branch for that personal one-on-one service. But when you choose technology, our online and mobile banking app offers you state-of-the-art functionality. The choice is yours. Commonwealth Bank. Bank the way you want.
When I had got prostate cancer, my family didn't know if I was going to live. At Cancer Treatment Centers of America, within days, I got an appointment. They presented me with treatment options, and we set up a robotic prostatectomy. When my scans came back, there are no signs of cancer. They don't see you as a number, they see you as a part of the family. I'm going on with my life. It's a real gift.
Call us at Cancer Treatment Centers of America.
This traffic report is brought to
Welcome back to Morning Blend here on Guardian Radio 96.9. We are streaming live on GuardianTalkRadio.com and on the Guardian Radio app for smart devices. We're also on your televisions on Cable Bahamas Channel 969 and BTC Flow Channel 612. You can tweet us at Morning Blend 969 or Facebook.com/Morning Blend 969. Text us 422-4796. And now at 8:23, time for another check of your weather for today. We've got multi-layered troughing along with tropical moisture creating some unsettled weather over the Bahamas, while a ridge of high pressure is draped across the islands. Mariners should be alert for low visibility and possible waterspout activity. Residents in low-lying and flood-prone areas should also be on the alert today, and there is a risk of rip currents at east and south coast beaches in the southeast Bahamas. For today, for the northwest and central Bahamas, your forecast looking like this: cloudy to overcast, hot and sticky with scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms through tonight. Expect gusty winds and higher seas in showers and thunderstorms. For the southeast Bahamas, partly cloudy, hot and breezy with isolated showers or a thunderstorm, becoming partly cloudy, warm and windy with a passing shower tonight. Small craft should exercise caution. Temperature-wise, look for highs getting up to around 90 Fahrenheit, 32 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down to 75 Fahrenheit, 24 Celsius. In your extended outlook, high pressure will drift slowly eastwards, and an upper-level trough and tropical moisture will continue to enhance shower activity and unsettled weather over the Bahamas. For tomorrow, Thursday, look for cloudy to overcast, hot and humid conditions, continuing with the windy conditions in the southeast Bahamas and scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms through the night. Friday, partly cloudy, hot and humid, becoming windy in the central and southeastern islands with widely scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms. In the tropics, we are watching a broad area of low pressure over southern Mexico and the Bay of Campeche. That should begin to move toward the north by tomorrow, and the system has a 90% chance of becoming a tropical depression as it moves across the Gulf of Mexico. Over the next few days could be an issue for the Gulf Coast states of the U.S. That's your Morning Blend weather check, brought to you by Bahamas First Insurance. What's first for you comes first for us. And at 8:26, we've got another check of your traffic for this morning, brought to you by RBC Royal Bank. In your real-time traffic, we've got Samara Butler Highway heavy traffic this morning from well south of Fire Trail. This is going down deeper than normal, and you're going to be seeing that in the northbound lanes up to Tonique Williams-Darling Highway this morning, and that's going to be extending that traffic onto Tonique Williams-Darling Highway westbound towards that roundabout, and even as you head west from that roundabout, you're going to be seeing that this morning. Fire Trail backed up a bit this morning as well, eastbound to that roundabout with Samara Butler Highway. Glasson Road looking a little bit better for you as an alternate route in the northbound lane heading towards JFK Drive. Carmichael Road eastbound also busy this morning as you get closer to JFK Drive. Rather to Blue Hill Road as you get closer to Blue Hill Road. And you're going to be seeing heavy traffic on Blue Hill from all the way down from Cowpen at various spots, St. Vincent, and especially north of Soldier Road getting closer to Independence Drive. Independence Drive also busy westbound this morning towards that roundabout. Carmichael Road westbound to Coral Harbor Road, you'll be seeing busy traffic there. And elsewhere, we've got pockets along East Street South of Independence Drive and East-West Highway, and then along Wolf Road near Marathon, and close you get to Mackey Street and along some of the major intersections there. That's what we're looking at this morning, your real-time traffic and your morning blend traffic alert, brought to you by RBC Royal Bank, banking reimagined. We're back here with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan along with Chester Robards. We are talking about what's in the news, and we've been talking about quite a few things this morning. I do want to get to this, what's happening in the House. This is, of course, likely the final budget for this administration at this point. And so we've been hearing... I don't know what word to use here, but people have been letting it out. Just unleashing a woo-sighing.
Autobiographies.
Almost.
I think that's what the speaker said.
And people are talking about getting emotional. And
lots of people talking about themselves.
My goodness gracious.
The work that they've done over the years.
And what they had to endure over these 4 years. Torture, it sounds like it's been for some of them. So again, cautionary tales for those very excited people who've announced their candidates for the next election. You're smiling now and you're all happy, but what awaits you? Pay attention. So this was sad. We heard this before from Picewell Forbes, the Mangrove Key Central and South Andros MP, when he spoke about that being one of his last times. But this is definitely his last, as he won't be running again. Take a listen to this report. This got emotional yesterday. This report from our Berthany McDermott.
Mangrove Key South and Central Andros Member of Parliament Picewell Forbes resting his head on his desk in the House of Assembly and sobbing today as he made his final contribution to a budget debate. Forbes, a three-time MP for the area, has previously said he will not be seeking re-election. As he wrapped up his presentation today, Forbes thanked those who supported him and got a standing ovation before taking his seat.
No other plea. Jesus died, and he died for Lily Mae Forbes, son, that fallible, imperfect soul like me. Let me just speak on with your concurrence. I support the budget of the Cape. Thank you very much.
Okay, Berthany McDermott.
Don't sound very sobby there.
Well, it came later.
Yeah.
But wow, that's... We talked about it yesterday. Michael Pintard saying that there needs to be more compassion in the way that these matters are dealt with. And I asked the question yesterday, right? So 'cause people were messaging and saying, this is, it's not one person, it's us in the constituency, members of the constituency branches. And we are the ones who are saying we don't want these sucky MPs anymore. We are the ones who did this. It's not the leaders of the parties.
Even so, though.
Right. So that's what I was asking yesterday, and not getting sufficient answers from this. So how did you determine that your MP was, as you say, sucky, right? What was it? Because we look around and we see other constituencies that are in terrible states, and you say, and that person's been getting nominations over and over and over, right? Yeah. So what was the difference? Is it something that we don't see? Help us understand it. How do you determine whether you have a bad MP?
That was part of the big row last night between Brave Davis and what's his name? Ellsworth Johnson. They went back and forth over and over about Cat Island and the state that Cat Island was in under the PLP administration, even as Brave Davis as Minister of Public Works. So
Yep. So what is it? Let's talk about that for a few minutes before we get to our next segment. More on this, right? Well, how do you determine whether you have a good MP? What is it? Is it the state of your constituency, the fact that whether there are not derelict vehicles, abandoned homes, run-down buildings where there are people conducting all manner of illicit business, or the fact that he comes to your house, he sends you chocolates on Mother's Day and
with a little bit of something in it,
right?
Loaded chocolates.
I don't know what you mean by that. I don't know what. Right? You get a turkey at Christmas. What is it that makes a good MP? How do you determine this? Please make it make sense. Give us a call. 325-4259, our one working line there. 325-4259, or tweet us, Facebook us, or text us.
I gather, despite what people call or text and say, most people have selfish reasons.
Yeah, they came to my Grammy's funeral.
Yeah, not. It's not about the constituency itself, and in the whole.
Yeah,
like if there's a park in one area and there's none in the other area, and they take care of that park, everybody could use it. But they're like, oh, that don't touch me. You need to come touch me somehow. But these guys only have so much money to spend.
Yeah.
Again, it goes back. If things every term things improved over the years, they wouldn't have so much work to do.
Right?
But clearly, things have been squandered back in the day, and now there's lots of work to do.
And then we've got so many discrepancies with the constituencies. There are rich constituencies, right? There are people here are working and make a lot of money, and they don't really need all that much from their MP in terms of infrastructure, basically, right? Where other places are more challenged. Yeah. So is it how do you determine?
I go on to call the place Pine Sol for some reason, but look at Pinewood. Look at Pinewood. I mean, those people...
They need a lot of Pine Sol after the flooding.
Well, that's true. Right, yeah. I didn't mean to sell Pine Sol. Neither did you. But anyway.
Any one of the cleaning products.
Cleaning products.
Right.
But, we have the MP for that area saying, I can't stop saying this thing needs to be fixed. The flooding problem needs to be fixed. Nobody's fixed it in the past.
Yeah.
Nobody's gotten close. And now how much money do you have to throw behind it? Yeah. Could you have started somewhere and then over the years worked your way to fixing the problem? Probably.
Yeah.
But nobody's done it.
Right. All right, we'll get to, again, call in 325-4259. This text here, great show as usual. A good MP will get their continuance, so call what? A good MP will buy a friend a stove. A good MP will bring ham and turkey. A good MP will go to the funeral. Okay.
Your money ain't gonna go that far, though. That's the problem.
There's a lot of people you got to buy.
That's a lot of people. Right? Stoves and turkeys.
My goodness. This person saying there were 3 clinics being built in Cat Island. The F&M said 3 was too many for such a small population. Okay, fine. But they didn't bother to fix at least one. All 3 were abandoned. At least one could have helped with the COVID crisis, don't you think? Okay. So this is this system. I keep talking about. I keep saying this. This is going to create challenges for many MPs. Right? What are they to do? Are they to be like your community leader, your mayor? Are they to act like that and fix all the things that are broken? Is that what they're responsible for when we have, for some reason, a ministry that is supposedly responsible for that? What are you to do, especially if you are not affiliated with the administration that's in power? Does it not handicap you? Why does it have to be like that? In other areas, this wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter at all. The local government would have to fix everything in the community, would have to deal with all those issues regardless of who the MP is, right? They are supposed to be legislators. They're supposed to be making laws that make sense for you, right? Trying to deal with psychotic people who try to have separate curfews for separate people, right? Those are the things they're supposed to be speaking out against, regardless of which party they're on. This system doesn't encourage that. And so they will say yes to all manner of nonsense because they have to sing for their supper. And then they won't be able to have any time to fix your pothole or your broken traffic lights or whatever. This is right. And it's the same thing. Oh, this MP doesn't do anything.
The MP just can't get to your street. But again, let's take a gated community as a microcosm, right? Look at that. Let's take a small chunk of a place. They start from perfection. Someone built that place, purposely built that place, and it was nice and fixed. And so as problems come up, they deal with the problem. That's not the way constituencies are around here. First of all, the place was never planned. The entire island was never planned. And then, of course, we've let things deteriorate so much that we have to throw hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars behind fixing them so that we could get to the part where we could just patch what goes wrong. There's too much money we have to spend in each constituency now.
Well, now this comes back to what this texter is saying, and the good MP will get you the contract with minimum kickbacks to fix those things. Let's take this call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Dwight. Good morning, Chester.
Good morning.
To answer your question, Dwight, a good MP is basically any MP that fulfills personal issues of his constituents. Basically, that's how we view a good MP in the Bahamas. It has nothing to do with providing correct infrastructure, because like you say, there's a lot of these constituencies across the archipelago that has elected the same individuals for 20 plus years and have the same exact infrastructure problems. Still even serve in cabinet, right? So it's all about whether or not that individuals in the constituencies find that individual likable and whether or not he solves their personal issues. And that's basically it.
Wow.
It's true.
Yeah, it's very sad.
And like you said, until we get serious about local government, we're going to continue to have these exact same issues. Because only when the constituency and the area are going to get fixed are from within, from individuals that actually know what the issues are and are able to put it to create plans to fix those issues.
Yep. Thank you very much. Okay.
You're welcome.
You heard the MP for Tall Pines yesterday say people called him from his constituency personally about the fire that was happening in that scrapyard, right? Personally. For what? Did they expect him to put on a fire suit and go hold a hose? Why? Why did they call him personally? Why? Think about it. What was he gonna do?
Well,
in that time,
I think they think the MP has the number to the fire chief on speed dial.
Right,
or
so
something
so
like
then
that.
they have
And
no
they
faith
can-
in the other parts of
911.
government that's supposed to work efficiently. It's a problem.
Yeah, that's an
a problem.
interesting point. That's a very interesting point. And would they have done that if he was in the opposition? Would they feel that he could help them if he
That's
were
true.
in the opposition?
Yeah.
Maybe some would. I don't know. Interesting. This one says here, what determines a good MP? Are striving community services for the youth, elderly, and for entrepreneurs trying to start businesses. A good MP keeps the infrastructure top notch. Yeah? Huh. Okay. All right. That's interesting. That's what you think an MP should do. Okay. I hear you.
You know what's interesting about Dr. Minnis? remember they said he was a really good MP in his area, right? Kalani.
Yeah.
Kalani don't really get that much problems. Kalani's a nice area already by itself. You know. So again, that's a
Very
microcosm.
wealthy, very
That's
wealthy.
a micro, and it's also a gateway for tourism. So they were fixing streets from the airport to downtown. That's easy. They got to do that. They have no choice but to fix those things. And Kalani looks nice, right? He don't have to do much.
Yeah. I want to go back to this texter though, who says the youth programs and the infrastructure. All right, so let's just say that's fine. That's what you say an MP should do. So if your MP though is the Minister of Health and is the Minister of Health in a year like what we had, a pandemic, do you still expect that to be happening? Do you reasonably think that can still happen there, or the Minister of Finance? If the minister, right? Do you think that is that a reasonable request?
If what's a reasonable request?
All these things to keep the infrastructure top notch, community services, youth,
The minister,
elderly, entrepreneurs.
The minister don't pull power cables, and he don't chuck asphalt in the holes in the road, and he got an office that people that's supposed to be staffed and people could come to. The man's not an island, and you shouldn't expect him to be. But he could send an email if you have an issue with something, and his people and your people say, "Look, we can't really solve this from where we sit. Can you send an email? Can you make a call?" He could do that. But then you have people to oversee the fixing of it, or whatever it is.
Bahamian people, I think you got this all wrong.
It's all screwed
You got
up.
this all backward. This is
I
not how
agree.
it's supposed to be. That is the work. That's supposed to be the work of a counselor, a town, a community, right? Somebody there on a board in your local district, and they need to work with the mayor. That's how it's supposed to be. Someone on the
property
ground
manager.
who lives there. They are supposed to be responsible for those things you talked about.
Yeah.
Your MP is supposed to be making good laws and standing up for what makes sense in the House. Shooting down tyrants who try to impose stuff on all of us.
Yep.
Right? The heat stroke they get for talking nonsense in the sun. Right? That's what's supposed to happen. And we have this backward, and this is why so many of our communities look the way they do. And this is why so many of these programs aren't getting the attention they deserve. Because we are expecting too much from an MP who is often a minister, a cabinet minister. And again, won't be accountable to you because they are in the cabinet. So you're doing the same thing over and over, expecting something to be different.
You wonder why in the news media, most of the stories are about the words of MPs. It's because nobody else could talk about things in our country.
It's crazy.
Nobody else.
It's crazy. Guarantee you go to some cities in countries that do Westminster just like how we do. They barely know the MP.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
The mayor and the council members
going
to be getting those people on the ground, living in the communities that they serve. Not somebody who's to fly in when they get a chance to check on you all.
Yep.
Someone who lives right there, knows about that fire that happened, knows about those gunshots, knows about the people on the bikes making noise at 1 o'clock in the morning. Somebody right there who knows about it, who knows that this traffic light hasn't worked for you for a year. But we continue to do this. Okay. This person, let's take that call. Good morning, call. You're on the air.
Good morning, Dwight. Good morning, Chester.
Hi.
You know, Chester, it's funny that Don Sanders is complaining that people are calling him to put the fire out. But I can remember...
No, I didn't say he complained about it.
And he didn't say they called him to put the fire out.
Yeah, no.
Right, exactly. Well, that's the other point. They called him to put the fire out, but when during the campaign trail, he was out there with bucket in his hand, him and Leslie Miller trying to put fire out. So you think that's the ignorance they play against the public. And I blame the public for staying ignorant to what is the job of the MP. See, what Don Sanders and people like Leslie Miller are supposed to do is to go into Parliament and ensure that there's enough equipment and personnel for the fire department and make sure that these institutions don't have reckless hazards in their vicinity.
Yeah.
to make sure that these things are put in place. That is their job. But these MPs play off the ignorance of the public. And now when people come to them and say, well, look, my light is off, or I need a fridge for my house, then they will say, well, these people are always begging. But this is the culture that they continued from the UBP days when they brought their bags of rice and food and to get votes. Ain't nothing changed. So the problem is the Bahamian public keep doing it, like you said, Dwight, doing these things over and over again, but they expect a different result. I like Millicent.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
I think it activates people's serotonin to be able to call their MP too. Is that the right thing? Is that the right thing?
Well, maybe. But I mean, what would be the problem if you called the mayor? If you called, right, as opposed to somebody who should be working on laws, right?
Absolutely.
Or as opposed to a person who's in the cabinet who's busy working, right?
Absolutely.
Who does not really have to answer to you because you didn't vote for them, right? But is free, unshackled to do the job that they have to do.
That's right.
And, right?
If I have a problem with something going on in Atlanta, I am calling T.I. Oh, Keisha, who is it? Lance Barnes?
Is she still the? She's still the mayor.
You're not calling the president of the United States,
or the House Representative.
Yeah, no.
Unless it's something to do. We need a law to fix this.
Yeah.
Right. That's when you call them.
Right. Exactly.
We need a law to fix this.
Correct.
Right. That's when you're supposed to call them. How about you guys work on a law? Not what happened to this traffic light.
Or come put this fire out.
Or my Grammy wants to say hello to you. Okay. Well, Grammy might want to say hello. I don't know. This one says, I'm convinced there's nothing happening for this country, nothing getting fixed. I remember an MP who left government for a big salary was talking about doing this, doing that, e-business for selling, Bahamian, what now? Nothing has happened. That was years ago, okay? A good MP will cut your light on when BPL cuts it off. Nassau is not a real place. Really? Is that what the MPs do?
Yeah. The electricians too?
That's pretty good. That is pretty good.
Bypass meters.
So that's when they suck, because you didn't help me when BPL cut off my power because my bill was $1,400. You didn't cut my light on. You was worthless.
Does that mean that the other guy did it back in the day?
Yeah. The guy before you, my bill was $3,000, and he got it turned on. I'm like, okay, he's excellent. Wow. There needs to be 3 levels of government: national, island, and local. Just like in Canada or the U.S., a federal system. I think I sent this text today. Must have been me. Who is this person?
I saw you text on your other phone.
Save this number. You are a very smart person. A good MP here gives you jobs, turkey, and ham for Christmas, and cards for Mother's and Father's Day. Yeah, that's I'm going to take a picture of this text because I think you
really,
you're a thinking person. You're a thinking person. That's right. It's absolutely true. This one says here, a good MP is one who is honest, with integrity, and a man of his word who would stand up for corruption in the government. So you mean we don't have many of them? That's what you're trying to say? That's what you're saying?
Wow.
I'm just asking. I don't understand. What is this? I'm trying to read this text. I don't know if I understand it. Okay. This one says here, a good MP, for me, is an MP who goes to Parliament and legislates laws and policies that benefits Bahamians. Okay, so you're also saying there are too many of them.
Wow.
I mean, what was the last two? It's like, yeah, that made sense. This one says, the local government of the Family Islands will not change anything the way it is on the Family Islands now. The council members have their favorites who they would give most, if not all, the contracts to. I know firsthand. Okay, you said some important things. The way it is now, right? There are major problems with the form of local government we have on the Family Islands, right? That can't work, right? And we need them to be accountable, more accountable to people, especially if they're to be in charge of budgets, which they are not really, right? That's all handed down from central government. But you're right. It is not working. It is not working. The form that we have now is not working. It's very important. But it can work. And we have to have faith in our people, All right, I keep saying it's a system. The systems that we have are boxing people into the mentality that they have.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't agree with that, and they always tell me, especially after I get calls, no, it's not the system, it's the people. I say it's the system. It's the system. I give this example. I'm sure I have on the show before, but of a child, of somebody who's grown up and has been spoon-fed by their parents. All right, all their life, the parents do the laundry, and they have the food is prepared. You don't do anything. You just come here, go to school, whatever. Yeah. Everything's done for you. If you go off to school, no parents there, right? You will have to find a way to do your laundry and to get things done. You could become one of those people who will get a girlfriend, get her to do everything, get a boyfriend to do everything for you, right? Or pay someone to do it for you. But you have to do something. You will have to change, or you learn to do it yourself.
Right.
You're in a new system, and you have to change.
Correct.
You might not like the way you do it, but the system will cause you to change. That same person, and if you put them back in the old system, they will likely go back to their old ways of, Mom, you might as well do this for me since I'm here. But put them in a new system, there will be a change.
Yeah.
And we can determine the change.
Again, like the good people who are in the House supposed to, we have laws that are supposed to be changing, procurement laws, that should do away with those kinds of things. You have to have bids for jobs, and they should be public.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Those kinds of things. So we have mechanisms that we can put in place to protect ourselves from those things.
Let's take one more call before we have to take a break. Good morning, caller. You are on the air. What's a good MP? How do you determine whether an MP is good or not? Are you there? Caller, we can hear something.
Good morning, Dwight.
Hi, good morning.
Hey, Dwight, I'm in Chester.
Morning.
Very quick here. Very interesting topic. You talk with MP. I
Okay, we're having a problem with your phone. I don't know if it's your cell phone. Something's up. You want to try us back?
Hear me?
Okay, now we can. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, very quickly here. If someone find the leaders in his constituency, come together.
All right. Jeff, I think you better call us back. Something's going on with your line. Call us back after the break. We're going to take that break and be back to finish off this conversation. We're getting a lot of your text messages now, people calling in, texting in to say what they think a good MP is. And so this is interesting. Chester, I think you're right. A lot of people saying it's the people who are doing for you, getting things done for you on a personal level, not necessarily on a community or constituency level at all. And that's very sad. So some people clearly who have had all the right intentions being pushed out because they didn't do enough for people on a personal level in their constituency. Interesting stuff. Boy, I tell you. This is Morning Blend on Garden Radio 96.9. Stay with us.
Talking to the people. Try, get them to go your way. Tell us not to worry, that we won't be led astray. So blind from signifying your opponents always lie.
Roaming just got easier. Say hello to more with our new Liberty Prime plan. With more minutes, more texts, and more data to do the things you love right here at home and even when you travel. With the all-new Liberty Prime, Liberty Premium, and Liberty Elite, you've got one less worry. Roam again. Alive. Believe in best.
Believe in best.
Stay a step ahead of technology with certainty and support from Custom Computers. Our know-how team is here to help you zero in on your next big tech purchase, finding solutions that take your productivity to the next level using only the best and most reliable brands. With 4 stores all across Nassau on East Bay, West Bay, Old Fort Bay, and Palmdale, there's no stopping you from stepping up your tech. Reach out to us at 396-1100. Find trust in your tech. Count on Custom Computers.
Screws and Fasteners World, Balfour Avenue and Palm Beach Street, has those hard-to-find fasteners for you right now. You can find stainless steel regular hex, carriage bolts, galvanized bolts, threaded rods, nails, self-tap screws, sex bolts, anchor bolts, turnbuckles, masonry tools, hand tools, and weed whacker strings. Check out the rope selection and car body fasteners too. Special orders are welcome. It's your #1 fastener store. Screws and Fasteners World, Balfour Avenue and Palm Beach Streets. Call 326-1976.
Meet Jackie. Jackie's a hard worker with a steady income, but she has a personal loan and multiple credit cards to pay off. To keep her account current, Jackie opted for a loan from Fidelity Bank to consolidate her debt into one monthly payment and earn interest on a built-in savings account. Be like Jackie. Call 356-7764 to book a complimentary financial coaching session. Fidelity also offers virtual assistance. Fidelity, we're good for you.
You invest in your children, your home, and your community. But are you investing in your financial future? At CFAO, we specialize in investment management, retirement planning, mutual funds, and private wealth management. Our team of experts never stops helping you plan for tomorrow. Because tomorrow begins today. Call us at 502-7010 to see what our financial advisors can do for you. CFAO, growing wealth for future generations.
Travel less, but vacation more by indulging yourself and your family with the ultimate staycation getaway at Atlantis. Sleep in, relax, play, go out. Say yes to a fantastic staycation in your very own paradise just over the bridge. For reservations, call 363-6483 or visit Atlantis Local on Facebook for details.
Digital banking, online, RBC. RBC banking, online, pay your bills anytime.
RBC Digital Banking is so easy. Granny and Granddad can do it. Sign up for online banking or download the RBC Caribbean app.
With RBC, it's safe and easy. Send your money hassle-free. RBC.
Visit rbc.com/Caribbean/bank at home. RBC Royal Bank. Banking reimagined.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
We're back here with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan along with Chester Robards. We're running out of time for this part of the show. Let's read some more of your messages, though. Someone says here, you all had people from BPL who got on the radio and gave a number to call for free cutting. I contacted the numbers, and it turns out they were numbers for power outages. I left a message 6 weeks ago. Nobody came. Seems like I have to call my MP in that area for that, too.
There you have it.
Oh boy. Well, they also said that if it's in your yard, that they are not responsible. The BPL said that they're not responsible for cutting your tree, and that you need to find somebody else. If it's in your yard, right. But if it is a pole outside of your yard, yes, they should. But they claim they're very, very busy. But I know some people who it's taken more than a year for it. It took more than a year for BPL to get there.
Is it a tall pine that they need trimmed? Because you could call anytime. Sorry.
Call Superman.
I'm kidding.
You've got a lot of jokes. Okay, this one says here, maybe they called the MP because no one answered 911. I called them once about a fire. They gave me another number to call where I was told to leave a message.
What? Are they serious?
You know, that's happened to me before. I called 911, and they told me to call the number for a police station. And I'm like, are you serious? And are you going to give me the number? And but this is an emergency. Anyway, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, no lie. I called the police station one time, told them about an incident, then called 919 and said, okay, I called the police station, but I just want to make sure that y'all got this. And nobody ever came.
Wow.
We have a problem.
Yeah,
we have a problem. That is a
huge.
problem.
It's very
That
serious.
is a problem.
That's terrible. This one says here, Mr. Wells said local government would give mayors too much power. So it seems like the MPs want to be relied on for everything. They're on a power trip to the detriment of the country's development. You better believe it. You better believe it. And we have to stop. Because every time you bring this up, every time you talk to anyone about local government, one of the first things people say is, well, these guys in power won't want to give up the power. I don't know why that's the first thing that comes out of your mouth when people bring up local government. That you, almost what? Well, what's the point of talking about it? Because you know these guys will want to give them. No. They don't get to decide this. Do you want it or not?
Mm-hmm.
You tell them that this is what you want, and they have to do it because you voted for them. Not like they won't give up. What? Stop. This one says here, a good MP. Yeah, we read that one already. This is exactly what I'm saying. A good MP does not exist in the Bahamas. This is the person who said that they are honest, in integrity, and will stand up against corruption. Boy. Another one, a good MP is one who improves the lives of their constituents, whether by law, policy, or infrastructure, unlike the MP for Cat Island, with people suffering with the lack of potable water. That's a bad MP. Yikes. Okay. Dwight, can you guys explain to me what the job description of an MP is? Well, we can't all agree, apparently, right? That's the problem. I mean, to me, they are to be legislators. That's what it's supposed to be. They're supposed to be there making laws that will benefit the people in their constituencies and presenting laws, bringing bills to Parliament that will help people, especially in their constituencies,
Correct.
whom they've canvassed to determine what they need, right? You would think.
Sure.
Supposed to be, but other people have different ideas. Someone says, tell your guest I'm building my house cash. Ask him which MP I could go to put the roof on for 5 votes and shingle it too. I'm sure Chester does not know the answer to that
Leslie
question.
Miller isn't running it.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm kidding.
My goodness.
Okay, that's my boy. That's my boy.
Dwight, great show. A good MP is Honorable Desmond Bannister, regardless of the most recent incident when he misspoke. What now? He is consistent, caring, and compassionate. I didn't ask you to name anybody. I just asked you to say what a good MP does. On the ground, hands-on, and in touch with constituency residents, he has a strong team working around the clock. He doesn't duck for 5 years. I give him an A. Okay. Someone says, yep, I called 919 last week for a fire, and they gave me the number for fire services.
What?
Oh, dear Lord.
Wait, what does 919 handle?
This person, the person who called, who says about the MP coming to fix the power, call it the BPL issue. The trees are in the road, yeah. Near my apartment, coconut trees. Yeah, well, that's really unfortunate. Morning, your show can suggest should only be what? Should only on the 911 calls until they fix it. What now? Your show, if can suggest only, should be on the 911 calls. I don't understand what you're saying, but okay. All right, thank you very much. Folks, keep thinking about that. Keep thinking about that, what you need or want from an MP, and whether what we do here is the right way to do things. And we've got to really, really advance the state of the systems in this country, right? They could be more efficient. We could be doing so much more than we're doing right now. Think about that. We're going to take a break for news. When we come back, we are going to be talking about corporation tax. What is it? How does it work? Will it benefit us? Or is this just to pacify global powers who are trying to bully us? Do we need it here? We're going to get into that after the break. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio. Stay tuned for Morning Blend Business.
This is Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news, intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversation. 96.9 FM. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Welcome to Morning Blend Business on this Wednesday, June 16th, 2021. Welcome back to our Morning Blend listeners. Once again, I'm Dwight Strachan, along with Chester Robards on this Wednesday. And today we're going to be talking about corporate tax, also known as corporation tax. We're going to get some definitions as to what it is and whether it can work here and be an answer to some of our taxation, our financial problems here in the Bahamas. We've got a couple of experts who are going to guide us through it, to break it down as simply as possible. Very pleased to welcome from Strategic Partners, Edison Sumner, and from Next Level Solutions, Hubert Edwards. Gentlemen, welcome. Welcome back to the show, both of you. Great to have you with us as always.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah, pleasure to be here.
All right. So let's talk about it in the simplest terms possible. Corporate tax, corporation tax, company tax, some say they call it. What exactly is it? And then we can get into how it differs from some other forms of taxation. Who wants to begin?
Who starts? Me or Hubert?
You go first.
Let me take that then.
Okay, Hubert.
It's not. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's a tax on a company or a corporation, and pretty much, to the extent that an individual would make income, and there is a level of tax levied by the government, and the individual would have to pay this. It's the same. Companies are legal personas. And so that's pretty much what it is. It's usually tax levied on income or capital, income and capital. And so it gets a little bit complicated in the actual competition and delivery of this process. But in simple terms, it's taxed on the operation of a business, the output, the profit, capital.
Maybe you could explain quickly also how it differs from the tax that businesses pay now.
Well, at this point in time, businesses generally pay tax based on turnover, and that by turnover is usually the top line. So if you're in business selling oranges or you selling guineas, and you make $200, you're pretty much being taxed upfront on that $200 with one or two adjustment. In the case of corporation tax, it's usually on bottom line, on the profit. So you work out your expenses, you take your revenue, work out your expenses, and then you get to the point where you have profit before tax. And once you get to that profit, that's when you start to make the calculation as to how much is going to be due to the government, due to the treasury. And that's the point where it gets a little bit complicated. Or a little bit involved. Let me not use complicated. A little bit involved. Some of that we can talk about. But that's the major difference. Bottom line versus top line.
Right.
All right. So
but it could become complicated too. I understand you was just trying to keep it very simple, but the fact is that it is and could become very involved because when you start talking about setting up tax structures or corporate income tax structures, or even personal income tax structures, then you're talking about putting in these different tiers and layers and brackets that various tax levels should be assigned to. So it's something that certainly will take time to develop, if and when the Bahamas decides to go in that direction.
All right, so the word corporate or corporation implies something big. Or this is denote a certain size of company. What are we looking at here?
Well,
sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, no, I would say just and I think Hubert laid a fantastic foundation for this, a good baseline for further discussion. But when you talk about taxes, corporate tax, or as you say, a corporation tax, I mentioned the word bracket just now, and if you look at it, there may be tax brackets that companies might fit into depending on the level and size of their turnover. But given the experiences that we've seen in other jurisdictions in the Caribbean, for example, in say Trinidad, or in some other international jurisdictions like Singapore or Malta and other areas, that you'll see that there is a static income tax that's applied to corporations across the board, anywhere between, say, 10 and as high as 39%, from what I've seen in my my own research on this. But I think if we're looking at it here, then actually some of the smaller companies, the SMEs, might have an issue with paying a higher tax rate if their turnover isn't as high as some of the larger companies. So for that reason, you might find that we may be compelled to some degree to look at establishing tax brackets, even for corporations, small and medium-sized enterprises, where they might pay a nominal tax rate. And also bear in mind that when we talk about income tax, because a corporate tax for a business is the same almost, or it equates the same as an income tax for the individual. And even in that case, we have to look at putting in tax brackets based on your level of earning and revenue and turnover and profits as well for the corporations on a quarterly or annual basis.
Yeah, I think, and this is where the complication starts to happen, right? Not that it's a bad system, but this is where it gets involved, especially and as Edson indicated, corporation tax is just the company version of income tax for the most part.
Right.
When you have income tax for the individual, usually what happens in order to address the idea of fairness, because some individuals make limited income, you would have threshold, and then the individual would be taxed above a particular threshold. So that you make $50,000 per year, the rules may be that the first 30,000 is tax free, and then everything else after that is at 25%. And so the calculation would work like that. In the case of a company, generally speaking, from my experience, it's usually a static number across the board, but it doesn't exclude the possibility of having different levels. What usually happens in the case of a company is you have these multiplicity of deductions and allowances, which then allows the company or puts the persons who run this operation in a position to properly and effectively plan their tax. In terms of a comparison, the current tax system that we have now, you work out the amount based on your turnover and you pay what the rate is supposed to be. There is not a lot of control. You don't have a lot of room to, if you will, manipulate that. It can be manipulated, obviously. I'm sure it's manipulated in some instance, but there's not a whole lot of room to legally, within the confines of the rules, manipulate it. Corporation tax is a totally different beast, right? You have so many potential deductions that and allowances. Give you an example. Let's assume that you have a group of companies. So Dwight, Tester, and Edson are in business, right? And you have three separate businesses, which makes up a group. One of those group company is now not profitable, totally making a loss. Usually within the confines of corporation tax, loss-making companies are able to use the losses as future credits against tax payable. Now, we could decide that Edson Company will make a loss from now until God come. And we will just use that as a way of effective tax planning. We could use processes like transfer pricing, where we charge Edson Company for management fees and directors' fees and all sorts of good stuff, which ensure that that company is always in a loss-making position or always at a place where profits are very low. And as a result of that, it becomes one of those things where you may be moving, or you could potentially move from a situation where the level of your tax predictability reduces significantly. And as the Bahamas starts to wrap its head around the idea of corporation tax or not corporation tax, income tax or not income tax, these are some of the issues which we will have to grapple with. I'm not saying these discount or disqualifies a new system. All I'm saying is that we have to look at this very, very carefully. It's not something that, as I think one official said, something that you turn on a dime. It's a very, very, very involved process, and it has to be looked at very, very closely.
Can you have a corporate tax system without income tax, personal income tax? Do you need to have one to have the other? Is that preferable? What difference does that make?
I think we can. They can be, and I say can. They can be mutually exclusive. Although, in most cases, and in all of the other tax jurisdictions that I've seen, where there's a corporate tax, there's also an income tax, an individual income tax, where persons are taxed on their level of income, right? So they can be mutually exclusive, but it all depends on the way that country or that jurisdiction, in this case the Bahamas, the way we would want to structure our tax infrastructure. Like Hubert said, and I totally agree that it has to be, and it could be very involved. It's nothing that's going to happen in a few months. It can take a long time to get the systems right because there's so many other elements that you've got to consider. Those are financial as well as non-financial elements that you have to take into account in looking at this, putting this new structure in place. But let me also say this, though. I mean, we've been talking about this idea of income tax, and this is not a new discussion, by the way. We've been on corporate tax. We've been this topic has been bandied about now for quite some time, and I am aware of a lot of it because I was directly involved in some of the initial discussions several years ago. But we have to consider now that while we talk about the possibility of implementing a corporate tax or an income tax for individuals, we have to also bear in mind that we are already paying some kind of a corporate tax now in the business community, and we're also paying it from individuals as well. So, for example, in the Bahamas, we are already paying taxes. We call them fees or licenses. We're already paying taxes for business license fees and registration, national insurance contributions, real property tax and real estate transactions. So we're levying taxes on those. Stamp duty on asset transfers, land registration, or land purchases. There are taxes attached to that. We're paying tax when we license our cars and get our driver's license renewed. We're paying taxes on financial transactions. For example, you go to a bank and you do a withdrawal or do a transaction, the bank charges you, and there's a tax there. And there's also a VAT charge there as well. And if you look at that list of taxes or fees that I just mentioned, and you spread that across the board of several other jurisdictions, for example, if you look at Barbados or Malta or Singapore, that we model a lot of our systems after, or that we emulate, and we want to be like Singapore in a lot of ways. Singapore does not have a business license fee. Singapore does not have a land tax. Singapore does not have a vehicle tax, but they do charge on their social security contributions, what we call national insurance. They do charge on real property, on real estate transactions, and also stamp duty on assets transfer. And if you look at another country closer to home within our jurisdiction, company like Barbados or Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados does not charge a business registration fee, but they do charge social security. But Trinidad charges a business license fee. So if I look at this matrix of all of these different jurisdictions, the Bahamas is literally the only country amongst several that I've seen who actually charges all of those taxes. And Trinidad, who I think is probably the most heavily taxed country in the jurisdiction, do not charge all of these particular taxes on businesses or individuals. So the bottom line that I'm saying here is that we are already paying a lot of taxes. We're not call it corporate tax, but we are already paying a lot of these fees when we are to now implement this as a corporate tax strategy. A lot of these current taxes that we're paying will have to be taken into consideration, whether we cancel some of them and replace them with an income tax, whether we enhance income tax to a level that is greater than 15% to compensate for the losses we would have experienced in removing, for example, business license fees or vehicle registration fees, etc. So the system of taxation and the structure that we are likely to implement will have to go under some very drastic analysis and amendments in order to get to that level.
We always.
Before you go, Chester, let me just want to bring a simple formula to this, right? At the end of the day, we must remember that the purpose of tax is to collect revenue for the government so that the government can run the country. At the end of the day, the taxes which are in play is a policy decision. So the Bahamas has decided over the years that it is going to remain a zero tax, no tax um, jurisdiction. And that is a policy decision. However, unfortunately, as we discuss and we debate this, there is a deeper implication for the Bahamas shifting more than any other jurisdiction in terms of shifting to corporation tax, because it would fundamentally, or has the potential to fundamentally change the value proposition of the country, which has sold itself over the years as no tax, low tax. But at the end of the day, how the government collects the tax, you can come up with a tax on the number of trees you have in your house or in your yard, or the number of rooms you have. It don't really matter. It's one of the inalienable right, if you will, of government is the right to tax its citizens, and it can do that in any way, shape, or form.
We always hear from people, I guess comparatively, that we are one of the least taxed jurisdictions in the region, but it doesn't feel that way to people. And then we hear the words like regressive tax and that kind of thing. Where is the balance, and can corporate tax help us to strike the balance that you were talking about, Hubert, where we don't feel so overtaxed even though they say we're undertaxed?
Not it's finding that balance, Chester, is difficult. It's not something we can just do, shooting off at the top of, as it's indicated. This is a very involved process. It requires careful study. Let me give you an example. If today we are making, say, $200 for ease of calculation, $200 from VAT, as a result of having two companies pay, $100 each based on their sales. If we shift that tomorrow, and the $200 is enough for the government to run the country, if we shift that tomorrow to those two same companies, who whatsoever amount the income that they make to pay this $200, now suddenly have a bunch of deductions. Like, let me just take you through a couple of things very, very quickly. So let's say you come to a level of profit and you have the ability to make deductions. So you take out your unrealized foreign exchange reserve, you take out your provision for accrued expenses, you take out unrealized amortized premium, you deduct value from for gains from your profit and loss. You now look to the government to get capital allowance. So you brought in some assets, and the government have to make allowance for that so you can invest back into the company. So you have initial allowance, you have annual allowance, you have balancing allowance, there's balancing charges. Then you get to the point where you say, okay, is this a regulated company? The tax rate is, say 33.33%. And I'm literally reading from some stuff from Jamaica, right? If it's a non-regulated company, the tax rate is 25%. If it's a building society, it's 30%. When you finish that calculation, you could literally end up with less than $200. And then all of a sudden, you have a problem. Because one of the most important aspects, well, not one, but one element of a taxation system is that it must be adequate. There are a couple of principles that taxation systems are judged by. It must be adequate, it must be fair, it must be transparent, it must be efficient, it must be convenient and administratively easy. So let's stick with adequacy. Adequacy basically says when the government taxes, it must find sufficient monies in order to run the country. And this, I think, is the starting point for the discussion that we are having. Not to lose your point too much. It's difficult right now to make a determination where that balance is because we do not actually know. And the reason we do not know is simply this. If you use the principle of adequacy, the Bahamas current tax regime isn't adequate, has not been adequate for the last 20 years, because every single one of those years, it has run deficit. So we have to start by asking ourselves, where do we get a taxation system? Where do we find or make changes in our tax regime, which is going to provide the country with sufficient monies to run, to do our recurrent expenditure, to do our capital expenditure, to pay for our interest on our loans, and to pay down the loans. And so this is where the system gets complicated. If we throw another principle in, the principle of fairness or equity, and the Prime Minister spoke about this earlier, technically, the system that we currently have, which is a regressive tax system, has almost zero chance of being equitable. Because what equity usually means is that individuals who make more pay more. And when you use largely a sales tax as we use in terms of VAT, as a proportion of an individual's income, that the people who make less are paying more. And so that's where the difficulty comes in.
Yeah. All right, we've got to take a break. When we come back, we have more questions, and we do want to touch a bit on what the G7 and other international groups are saying about global corporate tax, what that would mean. We'll get into that after the break. This is Morning Blend Business on Guardian Radio 96. Edison Sumner and Hubert Edwards. Stay with us. We'll be back after this. Morning Blend Business brought to you in part by Cash and Go. Now with over 8,000 active users in our handy mobile wallet, no need to wait. Just log on and get going with Cash and Go.
Invest in your children, your home, and your community. But are you investing in your financial future? At CFAL, we specialize in investment management, retirement planning, mutual funds, and private wealth management. Our team of experts never stops helping you plan for tomorrow. Because tomorrow begins today. Call us at 502-7010 to see what our financial advisors can do for you. CFAL. Growing wealth for future generations.
Beulah, gal, can you believe this? We are now the patrol queens of the neighborhood. We now large and in charge. So we need to check out what's going on in everybody's yard. What about that gun that we know that Junior and his homeboys just ran out? Can we report that too? Of course we can. But we could be in deep trouble if they find out. We need to report what we see, Beulah. When you call Crime Stoppers, they just answer your call in Miami. So then we can report everything? Guns, where they hiding the drugs, who shoot who powder, who disturbing the peace with the loud music and the motorcycles. Then our neighborhood will be the best in the Bahamas, and everybody gonna want to come live here. And then our house price will go up, gal. So what we waiting on? What's the number?
If you see something, say something. Let us all pitch in and stop the crime before it's your time. Call 328-8477 from Nassau or 242-300-8477 from the Family Islands. Or text us through the Crack Crime Bahamas app. Stop the crime before it's your time.
Our clients can now purchase gift cards for that special person right in our wallet. It's easy. Simply log in and select from our wide selection of international gift cards today. Our clients can now purchase gift cards for that special person right in our wallet.
You can do it at Cash and Go. Pay all your bills at Cash and Go. Send your money from Cash and Go. Top up your minutes. Cash and Go. Pay insurance at Cash and Go. 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's at Cash and Go.
The Water and Sewage Corporation advises residents of Tropical Gardens and Alexandria Boulevard East, Nassau Village, may be planning new construction or have commenced new construction and have not yet done and are planning to do so to urgently apply for city supply due to upcoming road paving works, as once the works have been completed, the corporation will not be able to accept any new applications due to the roads having already been paved. For further information, please call 302-5599.
It's time for your morning business report brought to you by CFAL. Your retail store cautioning Bahamians not to wait to buy necessary items since a shortage of goods will inevitably drive prices up over the coming months. The global supply chain disruption has become so critical that the U.S. Biden administration last week announced the creation of a special task force to reduce supply chain vulnerabilities and to focus on areas where a mismatch between supply and demand has been noted over the past several months. Trevor Davis, the co-owner of Quality Home Center, says that there's not just a shortage of food and grocery supplies internationally, given that shipping companies around the world are backed up, causing delays. He says at all of the Western ports, when you're talking about suppliers, they are not moving things off the ships fast enough. You can read more about his comments in today's Guardian Business section. Cruise passenger numbers in 2022 are expected to trend 9% ahead of where they were in 2019. And with the completion of the new cruise port in 2022, fees from cruise lines to the government will increase by $4 million per year. That's according to Minister of Tourism and Aviation, Aguilar. He was speaking during the budget debate yesterday, saying that with the expansion and redevelopment of the cruise port, which will be able to berth 3 Oasis-class ships by next summer next year, cruise lines are already booking more berth space at Nassau's cruise port for 2022, and that will bring almost 500,000 more passengers than the record 5.4 million they brought in 2019. About a dozen Central Bank of the Bahamas employees holding a protest in response to what they consider unfair changes to their employment benefits, among other issues yesterday. President of the Union of Central Bankers, Teresa Thompson, saying the bargaining agency has reached an impasse with the management of Central Bank after negotiating a new industrial agreement, which expired in January. She said the union, which represents about 150 Central Bank employees, filed a trade dispute yesterday and is awaiting a response from the Central Bank before taking any other action. AML Foods Limited says sales are trending in the right direction to the end of its fiscal year, ending April 21, with the company seeing a 1.4% increase in sales for the fiscal year. That's according to AML's fourth quarter chairman's report, which added that the start of the new fiscal year showed sales tracking strongly compared to 2019 levels as the company looks to continue the expansion of its footprint. In your Market Watch, recapping trading on the BISX from Tuesday, your market movers, Commonwealth Bank moving 170 shares, closing at 289 unchanged. Focall moving 8,000, down 24 cents to 375. BSBGR 780230 moving 430, closing at $100.66 unchanged. And BSBGR S700238 moving 132, closing at $100.27 unchanged. Consolidated Water down 5 cents, closing at $2.57, and Emira Incorporated up 2 cents to $11.84. The BISX All Share Index closing at 1,962.13, down 10.68. That's your Market Watch, and that is your morning brought to you by CFAL, growing wealth for future generations.
Taking care of
And we are back here with Morning Blend Business. Dwight Strachan with Chester Robards. We are talking with Edison Sumner and Hubert Edwards about corporate tax, corporation tax, getting some definitions, getting a better understanding of this. And so just how far can you go with corporate tax? Can you limit it to only foreign companies, to only the companies that would be considered trying to dodge taxation in their own home countries? Can you limit it in that way? Is that possible?
Bad styling, Dwight. They're not dodging; they're doing tax planning.
Oh, okay. All right. Sure.
Yeah. It's efficient. It's efficient tax planning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But listen, as we get into, we've got to look at, of course, what are the actual objectives, right? What is it we're trying to achieve by implementing a corporate tax on income tax? And that will, I think, help to answer your question. And no, it is not and should not be limited only to foreign companies. The domestic companies are enjoying, aspects of the economy as well. They're able to do business in the environment, so they ought to also be required to pay their fair share. And I say fair share meaning not an inequitable situation for them. But when we think about taxes and we look at the objectives of implementing a system, there's several things we've got to take into account. One, that the tax really is there to help generate revenue for the government, right? And the more money the government, then hopefully that money, those resources are being managed prudently so that it creates less strain on society when it comes to some of the social implications of government fiscal policies. Then we have to introduce a tax that can also be competitive internationally, ensuring that our international competitiveness is there and that we're able to reduce the cost and the ease of doing this, increase the ease of doing business in the country. We also have to consider that we have to align ourselves with other international tax infrastructure or tax protocols, so that we assure that we're meeting certain standards of taxation, certain expectations. And we also have to talk about fiscal management, fiscal stability, fiscal prudence, tax efficiency. So it's not only about generating revenue, but it's also about how do we now manage and cap spending. And this is what the fiscal rules is all about, right? And the fiscal response to committee in our council that's been put in place. So these are all elements that would help determine, one, whether we should implement an income tax or corporate tax. And if so, what are the objectives of doing so? So you cannot separate the domestic from the international. You may want to perhaps have these different tax brackets possibly, but I would not say that, that the foreign or international companies operating in the Bahamas should pay the tax and the Bahamian companies ought not pay the tax. Then it becomes an inequitable tax. It's an unlevel playing field. And we've been screaming forever that the playing field ought to be level. We ought to be treating all of our businesses at the same level, whether it is for concessions or taxation. So I don't think we want to get to the route now of starting to separate international from domestic businesses as far as this level of taxation is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my view is it can be done. The question is whether it should be done. And we have to look at it from the point of view of if there's going to be a change, what are we trying to achieve at the end of the day, right? There are a couple of questions, and I think what we have here is really a very, very important dilemma. Is the current tax regime still appropriate for the country? That would be the first question I would ask very broadly, right? And then my next question would be, if yes, how is it appropriate when our economic and fiscal situation seem to be so off kilter? And if no, then how so? And this is the whole process of doing that deep dive and very clinical study of exactly what we have, right? And then we need to ask ourselves, what exactly should the tax regime be for the Bahamas? And this is to not just make a determination or any type of a preset position that, hey, we're moving from VAT or whatsoever else that we have excise and duties and we go into corporation tax. No, we need to ask the question as to what the tax regime looks like for the Bahamas, because the changes must be designed to achieve a particular thing and also protect level of competitiveness. I think Edison alluded to this, that you can't just run into and make a change which is going to put you at a disadvantage, and all of a sudden Cayman is the best thing in the world and the Bahamas is the worst. The next question I would ask is, what regime therefore provides the greatest future value for the country? That question is designed to ask us to look 5, 10, 15, 20, 50 years down the road as to exactly how we create value going forward. Because it doesn't matter if there was a change, any change at all is going to be disruptive. And if you look at it over the short term, then you may decide, well, not to do or not to make good changes. But when you look at it over the long haul, then certainly it is there. My final question in that regard, Dwight, would be, is there a possibility, given the archipelagic nature of the Bahamas, for there to be a differential type of taxation system which will allow the country to strategically drive economic activity to certain family islands? What I mean by that is, Mr. FDI, if you want to come to New Providence and set up a business, your tax is going to be 200%. If you go to Inagua, we will pay you tax. It's an extreme statement, but you get the idea of what I'm making. So we use, because of that nature, we could now start to think about how can we use corporation tax as a strategic tool for driving business and for building economies, for creating clusters around, when a business go there, the business going to need employees, the employees going to need school, the schools is going to, need supplies, you're going to have 1 or 2 bad boys there, so you're going to need a police station, and so on and so forth. I think we need to really now start to rethink, now that we're in the mode of talking about taxation, to achieve at the end of the day. Because the reality is, when we frame it within the context of $10 billion in debt, right? A primary deficit means basically that our initial revenue cannot overcome, is not sufficient to cover our recurrent expenses. So we start from that. We are borrowing basically to pay our interest. We are borrowing for capital investment. So it says very clearly that the taxation system that we have today, it's either not enough or somebody is wasting a lot of money someplace, which I don't think is the case, right? So we have to now start thinking seriously, how do we move from the current paradigm or the current situation that we have to one which is beneficial to the country? And it requires careful thinking.
I have a quick question, just based on what you said earlier, though, and I guess you can answer this quickly. But do you have to build those deductions into? And I know this is probably a question about competition, but do you have to build certain deductions into a corporate tax to make it sweet for a company to close those kind of leakages?
The deductions are optional, but as tax go, like anything else, there are usually commonalities. And the expectation is that if a company is paying taxes on its profit, then certain allowance must be given. So if I have to retool my company every year, if I have to bring in asset, I have to do certain things, then all of a sudden I need the government to make allowances for these. But it can be done in any way. The whole idea, though, is, give an example, Chester. If you start charging me corporation tax, right, then none of my employees will ever own a car. All of my cars, all of the cars my employee drive will be owned by the company, because I am going to try to secure, capital allowance on every single one of them. It becomes cheaper for a company to own the cars and to have their employees drive them. So you see where it can get very complicated and convoluted. You have to be very careful.
That was going to be one of my questions. What are some of the implications of a corporate tax? Will we see change of how companies do business, or cutting back? Do you see things like that? We know the Republicans in the U.S. like to cry that more corporation taxes will hurt the economy in the long term because of they might have to scale back. Is that a reasonable thing to expect?
I think it's reasonable, but bear in mind now that the G7 countries have now entered this agreement, apparently, that they want to impose this new global tax on jurisdictions around the world, right? So the trend now is that there are lowering taxes, corporate or income taxes around the world. And that is now the new push. But when we look at the issue of the implementation of a corporate tax, then yes, there are some issues that we have to take into account. We've got to look at the opportunities. We have to look at the implications. We've got to look at what steps can be taken to mitigate any risks that may be associated with this corporate tax. In that we will have to analyze the wider economic impacts associated with corporate tax, such as impacts on like investment or business activity and competitiveness, in order to identify and mitigate any risks that we might face in the country. And some of these would include things like competitiveness that I mentioned earlier, also ease of doing business. We have to look at the implications of that, the business investment environment with the Bahamas Investment Authority. And of course, that's going through some changes now as well as we speak. What is going to be the implications on employment in the country? If we implement new taxes, corporate tax, income tax, is it likely to have an impact on our employment levels? Do we need to hire more people, or do we need to release people because the cost of doing business might increase? What is also going to be the level of growth to the economy by implementing this new tax? And I think that is the one that the policymakers will perhaps be most concerned with. Is there going to be a growth factor that we need to take into consideration? On the previous question, I just want to wrap up that question there about the international companies, et cetera, versus the Bahamian companies. I think that we've got to be very careful. And I would actually caution the policymakers, because we had the same experience when we were implementing value-added tax. We've got to be careful with the number and the level of exemptions and concessions that we allow, because if you are giving away so much concessions, giving away so much credit, giving away so many incentives against the taxes that you're collecting, and your tax base is now almost to net zero, then it almost defeats the purpose of raising the tax in the first place, because you're giving all the money back away, incentives and otherwise. So we have to consider that there are non-tax factors, non-financial factors that will continue to attract businesses to the country, that will continue to cause local and domestic businesses to want to get into business. And this is a study that was done back in 2018, 17, 18, I think, by Dwight, where the non-tax factors being regulations, right? International best practices, ease of doing business, AML processes, etc., improving legal systems, things to do with arbitration and dispute resolution to align with international protocols. You have to improve on the human capital, being sure that we have people who are adequately trained, who possess the requisite skills to operate in this new tax environment. We have to also look at the financial sector development, product innovation, services offering, networking of firms and companies, both domestically and internationally. And then we have to look at the infrastructure itself, developing the technology infrastructure, the communications infrastructure, the transportation links, the residential and office spaces, etc. So these are all what I call, what Deloitte also identified as being the non-tax factors, where you don't have to give away the baby with the bathwater. You don't have to give away all the credits that you would have gotten in tax revenue, but you can create other systems, other incentives that will attract business to the country. It may not be directly a tax, but it's also likewise going to cost them to save money by coming into an efficiently operated jurisdiction where regulations and the legal systems and human capital, et cetera, are already laid out, and that they can come into a system where they can operate very, very efficiently. And they might save money in that regard rather than having to spend it all in taxes.
Yeah.
And getting all these free concessions.
Now, I know I asked about income tax before, but we hear this often in the U.S. where people will say that this corporation, that most people probably paid more in federal income tax than this corporation paid in corporate taxes. How do you avoid a situation like that? I know you mentioned some of the things that companies do, Hubert, but how do you avoid a situation like that where, that just can't be right at all? This giant corporation is paying less than somebody with their personal income tax?
Yeah, well, you try to do that by ensuring that your tax code is as simple as possible, very clear and easy to navigate. The problem with that, though, Dwight, and big countries or countries have been at this for a number of years. Over time, the tax code become very complex. You have individuals who specialize in tax planning, and they will find loopholes for, exploiting what is there. And I mentioned earlier a couple of the areas where that exploitation is possible.
Right.
An easy one is in terms of not making profit. These companies employ individuals. If you think about it, if my tax burden in a particular year is going to be $2 million, right? And I can employ an individual and pay, a couple of individuals and pay them $300,000 to reduce that to zero. I am $1.7 million ahead of the game. And that is going to happen. That will happen. So in a very serious way, it's difficult to say you can stop it, but you can reduce it by paying. Fortunately, over time, over the years, there's always going to be creep. There's always going to be emerging loopholes. There are always going to be things which have the potential to be exploited. So, the downside that will come with any taxation system.
Is there an appetite locally for it from companies? Do they care for income for corporate tax?
I don't know. I wouldn't say so. I don't think anybody is running and jumping for a corporation tax. From where I sit, a lot of us like the way the Bahamas tax system is currently structured. But this is not about us. This is not about a particular company or a particular individual. I think we still have to go back to the question and ask ourselves, is the revenue which the government is currently taking insufficient to run this country? And I think the unequivocal answer to that is no. The government has, in my experience since I've been here, been running a expenditure budget of about $3 billion and has never collected $3 billion in revenue. We just need to figure out where the money is going to come from. Now, you don't need corporation tax. You just need more tax.
Right.
So you could increase value-added tax. You could increase duty. You could add additional fees. The bottom line is we definitely, as a country, need additional revenue, or we need to reduce the wastage.
None of those would be popular, the ones that you mentioned. Oh, my goodness.
What?
Yeah. Say that again, Dwight.
None of those would be very popular at all, though, the ones that you mentioned.
No, and therein lies the issue. Therein lies the point where the discussion needs to be had. Because at the end of the day, it will be choices. We have choices to be made. So we have options. Increase VAT to 15 or 20% and be good, or we move to something else which is more palatable. We get into a situation where we now tax local company and foreign companies, so we expand the tax canvas. As a result of that, the more persons who are in that net increases the amount of revenue we take in. We have to contemplate them very seriously. I think it's important. We think we are at a critical point, a very, very critical point time in the history of the country, where we must not just simply say no, but we have to consider it. If the answer at the end of the day is no, then it is no, and then we choose the alternative.
Wow. We've got a text here saying Sumner sounds like he's not interested in corporate tax. Okay. I don't know. Is that how you feel, Edison Sumner? I don't know how they can determine that.
I don't know what I said. I didn't say that gave that impression. All I'm saying is that we have to do a study. We've got to examine where the benefits are, and we've got to look at that in the context of everything else that's happening today. A corporate tax could work, right? But for that to work, we have to now look at all the other taxes we're paying, because we cannot pay a corporate income tax and maintain all the other taxes that we're paying currently, right? Including customs duty and VAT and the rest of it. So if we implement a customs tax, then we have to do it with business license fees.
Yeah.
And we have to do it with several other the taxes on the books today. I am against it. I'm neither for nor against it, but I think that it requires a in-depth study and an analysis of the business community and the general population to determine if that is in fact the most equitable way to go. But I have no difficulty with it one way or the other. It just needs to be managed properly.
Yeah. Okay. Edison Sumner, thank you so much. And Hubert Edwards, people miss you on the radio, and you're going to be back. You're back beginning tomorrow?
Yes. We are starting at 6:30 tomorrow evening, and it's a bit of a comeback. The essentials, the reset, we are terming it, and so we're taking a slightly different approach. We want to be engaging with the community. We want to have persons value. We want to share, and we want to take just a little bit of a bolder approach to radio to discuss some issues in a more in-depth way. But very, very importantly, we want to be in a position where we can support businesses. We want to support small businesses. We want to have young people, especially young entrepreneurs, be a part of the showcase. Conversation with emerging politicians, budding politicians, leading politicians, leaders of industry, captains of industry. We really want to have a conversation on the essential. We say, this is where we seek to further the national conversation. Okay. And in a very serious way, I would like to be able to use the show as a tool for helping to further understanding, to develop deeper engagement between disparate parties, and to get to a point where we are talking to add value to the country, not to tear down anyone, not to disparage, but to get to a place where we are creating value. And I think radio is a very powerful way of doing that. We want to build a community, and through that community, we want to use it to leverage change. If persons are out there and they're hurting, we want to be able to reach out to individuals and say, hey, Dwight need a pair of shoes. How can we come together and buy Dwight a pair of shoes? Or so?
All right. Sounds good. So that's Thursdays, 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. right here on Guardian Radio, The Essentials, The Reset. Thank you so much for both. And stay tuned, folks, for On the Clock with Aaron Green next.
Thank you.